Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Talking Skritt. I'm your host John, better known as Dale around Yaks Ben. We have a fantastic show for you. The Mount team talks about the Griffon, new and returning amulets for PvP, and we finally talk about show stuff and much more. But first, let me introduce you to my fellow host. He is a moderator over at MMO Champion. He is becoming the Marshal of the Desert, where he is looking for the wanted bounties from all the boards. Say hello to Jim.
Ironically enough, I haven't done a single bounty yet. I think I had too many flashbacks from the one in M Noon where it heals if you don't DPS it down fast enough. I don't want to have to deal with that again. And I haven't really seen that many people going after the bounties, so...
Oh, there's commanders starting to do it. I'm doing one right now.
There's that. So, completely proven wrong at this point. So, hi everybody.
Awesome. And he streams over on Twitch, where he answers the age-old question, when can we have Griffons in PvP so I can just fly away and avoid PvP entirely? Say hello to Age.
You could use them in the... I think you can use them in the PvP instance, so you could just fly away and see how far you can get in the mist. You might find something.
The same. I don't get points for it.
You actually might find something. Oh, I should try that later.
Oh, jeez.
Hi, guys.
And you can see his stuff over on Twitch and YouTube at MMO Inks, searching through the Crystal Desert to find where the truth lies. He is our Canadian Bacon of Guild Wars 2. Say hello to Inks.
Today wrapped the story on the channel. Pretty exciting. Finally wrapped the initial playthrough, so that was pretty good stuff. I hope people enjoyed it. For those who watched, I think they did, so that's
awesome.
Always pretty good.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be talking about story spoilers. We're going to save that for the end of the show. We'll give warnings for people that are still trying to avoid it. I mean, it's been 2 weeks, but, just in case. There will be probably slight minor spoilers that we're going to try our best to avoid with some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about today, but it's not going to be, it's all going to really be at the tail end. But let us jump right into it. Of course, with any new big release, we have, more PoF patch notes, bug fixes to skills, bounties, story maps, stories and maps. So, I mean, any of the ones that felt like they were super needed or anything like that?
I think there was a bounty one. I don't know if it was this week or last week, but some of them are a little bit overtuned, as it were, for like large groups. So hopefully they tune that down a little bit. But other than that, I think bounties are okay. Probably some map bugs, because the maps are pretty huge. They're probably going to find a few here and there, so probably work on those. But as far as I can tell, it's mostly connection issues that people have been having. So,
Still having.
Yeah, so hopefully that gets fixed up in the next week or two.
The big controversial one was Soul Eater was nerfed for the personal story.
I think we moved that into
fire story,
which we'll talk more more heavily about what it was like beforehand for people that did get to try it, and for people if they got to try it afterwards. But
I think there was a broken bounty or two, which they fixed.
Yeah,
I've done a couple of bounties. I joined a train, so I killed like 5 in a train. For not totally, but most of the bounties, it really depends on the randomness of it. Most of the bounties kind of just sort of melt under the pressure of 50 people. I mean, it's 50 people, right? But there's a couple that don't because of their mechanics, which is kind of hilarious, and then 50 people die. But yeah, I don't know. There was 1 or 2 bounties that I think weren't broken or that weren't like spawning. So it's good to see those fixed.
Yeah, I wanted to mention this, but for those of you who know Shinryu, he's a Guild Wars 2 Warrior player, and they actually put a legendary of his character in the game, Path of Fire.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Did they really? Which one is it?
It's called Legendary Arajal, but I don't know where it is. I think it's a bounty.
Aren't
How do you know it's his character? Was there confirmation somewhere, or?
He legit tweeted out.
Are you sure you're not talking? Like, I think I want to say the one in the meta in
I don't remember.
Argoreer Rock. That's where I know it as a Guild Wars 1 player. I forget the new name maps. I thought it mimicked one of the players. Because
Oh, okay.
you fight a doppelganger.
So it might have been
I think
that
that
one.
might have been it.
I haven't seen it yet, so.
Yeah, no, I killed legendary 350 earlier in the week.
Yeah, so that might have been. He just might have just got lucky, or I don't know exactly how they pick who the person is, random or.
I also then proceeded to have to kill myself during that event because it spawns more clones of people in the area.
Oh yeah.
I was only a veteran. I was disappointed.
Yeah, chat's confirming it that they're pretty sure it was the doppelganger in the Riverlands. I forgot what the actual map's name was, but.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll find it eventually.
Yeah, it's okay. So supposedly, in that meta event, whoever picks the most magic in the pre-event.
Oh, I see.
That
That's
makes
pretty
sense.
cool. Oh, I have to do that. 'Cause my character, I want to make my character look like Abaddon, so that would be
dear
even
Lord.
better. All right, I got a goal now. Screw
Life
all those people that
goals.
say there's nothing to do. I got something to do now. I'm camping the Riverlands. All right, show's over. See you, everybody. I got stuff to do. No, but there should be an achievement. I saw there should be an achievement to kill yourself. Well, maybe not term it that way. That would be pretty.
Oh,
I could see
there is
people.
an achievement to kill
There
your
is
own dog.
apparently an achievement to it.
Oh, awesome.
Cool.
I that would be amazing during that event. I guess it doesn't have to be the legendary, like Malthanis said. It can be like you can be a veteran or something.
I didn't get. I think it has. I think you have to be chosen because I didn't get an
Oh.
achievement for that.
I was gonna say because I think that would be better in chat. Going, people yelling around in chat, going, "Where am I? Did anybody see me? I need the achievement." But yeah, it was just kind of seemed like minor bug fixes and stuff like that, and nice little things to bring all the stuff more in line. But I'm sure that will go on as the weeks continue. Any other thoughts on the kind of patch notes over this week?
Nothing super major other than the one thing with the Eater of Souls,
Yeah.
which I'm totally okay with seeing just a bunch of bug fixes and waiting for the dust to settle.
Yes. Let us jump into meeting the Griffon. We talked about last week that even Mo even said that this really isn't a spoiler anymore since so many people have gotten it, and it's probably even more people. It's they kind of hid this amount away from us, which good job on them. I mean, with everything else that happened, keeping that hush hush was awesome. But yeah, they basically the blog post was for guild chat this week. They were going to talk about the Griffon with the mounts team, talk about the journey of witnessing the first hours started unlocking the Griffon mount, designing the Griffon mount, different things like that. Was anybody able to catch the guild chat this week?
Not yet.
I watched a bit of it. They had 3 people from the Mounts team. It may be the Mounts team. I didn't actually double check that, but had one of them playing on the Griffon, 2 people on the couch talking about different things, how people were first seeing this Griffon and making all the wiki notes and all that stuff, and it was a pretty interesting experience. And they also learned a bit about the design of it. I think the most interesting part was the different flight patterns that you can actually perform on the Griffon. I haven't done a lot of them myself, but they explain a few different things you could do, which was actually pretty cool. Like you can pretty much dive and then you can flat out but get that speed boost, so you can just glide at ground level. It was pretty awesome. So a lot of different things from there. Pretty cool.
Yeah, like chat saying, and I did hear this on there, that the Griffon was going to be the 4th mount, the Jackal was going to be the special hidden one, but then they were the Griffon just started getting cooler and cooler, so they were yeah, this is the special one.
I have to admit, I'm really kind of happy that the only mounts you quote unquote need for the story are the Raptor, the Springer, and the Skimmer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, there's literally no requirement to go get the Jackal or even the Griffon. They're just
I mean, for
there.
the Griffin, it makes sense. For the Jackal, it's a little strange, but
Especially since they talked about it during the previous. I mean, if you don't need it, why would you preview it? Just let people find it. But to be honest, I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense too, since they wanted the Jackal to be the 5th mount, so they kind of just had to swap things over.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I guess it does make sense there.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Mac. It does feel like the Raptor and Jackal are a bit interchangeable. I mean, the nice thing is you can kind of turn more so with the Jackal than the Raptor, but you can still turn pretty well with the Raptor.
The Raptor gets more horizontal distance without falling off on its jump. Like, it's almost double a blink from the Jackal.
Yeah,
So
you get a bit of a vertical leap as well on the Raptor. Rather than the Jackal, it just stays at that level unless you stop blinking for a moment and then you dip down a little bit.
And even if you just hold, like, I turned off the jump button being the mount movement skill, and I just use my dodge key instead. If I just hold my dodge key and I do the multi-blink, you still drop every time you blink. And I can't make jumps that I need the Raptor for with the Jackal.
I did like that they mentioned on the guild chat, since the Griffon mount was kind of kept a secret, that none of the developers or anybody on the Arena team like purposely went after the Griffon on during launch because they didn't want it to show up in the API or anything, or the any of the items. So they were like, as soon as they said they saw it pop up, they're like, sweet, we can all go for it and have fun with it. And
it's a little bit of a shame in the sense that like if you don't rush the content, then you sort of miss out on that discovery, you know. But I mean, that's just the way video games are, you know.
That was something I found out, like I was talking in the pre-show, day 2, people had the Griffon, and it's like,
yeah,
like we were.
Yeah, I know Nike had it super fast. I know Droyer had it super fast.
One of the big things we were talking in pre-show is like people rushing content and suddenly saying, "I have nothing left to do," and it's like, well, you just spent 28 hours playing this game straight, achievement hunting.
Well,
Don't complain about that.
And if I wasn't making content, I would be sort of in that group. I think I would, I would sit and play the story on day 1 all the way through, or at least try to, and then sort of go from there. But to each their own.
Oh yeah, and that's the other thing, is the gold requirement. I see how chat's saying they would have had a day 1 if it wasn't for the gold. But yeah, which if you don't know, you have to do a series of like different collections across all of the new maps, and basically buy things from certain vendors that are that equate to, like, at the end, 250 gold.
Yeah.
So
25 gold a pop. It's the Griffon is basically this. There's an achievement in each map. You have to do usually some event or a legendary bounty of some kind, or a bounty of some kind, not necessarily legendary. You have to do 2 hearts so that you can buy the 225 gold items. And then there's like 4 or 5 eggs per map that you have to go find. And that's basically that. And then that unlocks like a further collection, which I haven't gotten to yet. And then that's it.
yeah,
The one thing I don't mind about the gold cost is it's 25 gold items. Like, you have to buy multiple items to do it. So it's not like when I first heard the 250 gold number, I was given flashbacks of getting my Paladin mount back in vanilla World of Warcraft. Scrounging up 500 gold back in World of Warcraft when 500 gold was not something you got from a quest.
Yeah.
So.
yeah.
Well,
That's why I'm worried. Go ahead.
Well, by then 1,000 gold, or was it 5,000? Wasn't that big a deal? But you had to pay either 1K or 5K for Northrend flying. I can't remember. It was a lot of. It was quite a bit of gold.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 250 doesn't seem so bad to me. I don't know.
That's how it starts. Like I saw some people saying like, "Oh, so the next mount's gonna be like 1,000 gold." I was like, "You shut your mouth!" Like, if there is one, who knows?
250 is a solid investment in Guild Wars 2. Like it just that's a decent investment in anything, I would say. Then ArenaNet's done a pretty good job making sure that gold doesn't super inflate. So
Yeah.
It'll be interesting when I finally get it, how much I actually use it. I know it gets other abilities and stuff later, and I'll have to play with all that. I've been trying to avoid it so that I can experience that feeling for the first time myself. But the placement mount they give you, I don't know. I can't really see myself using it a whole lot. We'll see. Hopefully that changes.
Any final thoughts on the guild chat or the Griffins themselves?
Where are my mount skins? Give them to me.
give it a week, okay? Just give it a bit.
I bet
I
they're
gave it
saving it
2
for
weeks.
Halloween. I bet they're saving it for Halloween, and they're gonna be like how I've seen other games where they're like literally that skin, but it's like now it's a zombie form of a, you know, zombie bunny would be pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie. But like,
No, Frankenbunny.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I think everybody's kind of waiting for mount skins. But
A skeletal jackal that's like the Mad King's jackal, where it's on fire instead of sandy.
an Arene Griffin skin. I've heard people mention that. I would love that. Like, I think that would be a nice touch, but that would also be.
I mean, unless you're even as an Asura, it's too small to ride.
Yeah.
It's just supposed to. It just look like it.
We get a Vlast skin instead.
Yes. Oh. Well, Halloween, Zombie Blast.
Zombie Blast. Anyway, sorry.
But
I kind of wonder, before we move on super quick, I kind of wonder if they know how they're going to monetize it. You would think that would have been, I'm sure they've discussed it at length. But I'm a little surprised we haven't seen some monetization on the mounts just yet. Maybe they did want to give it 2 weeks just because then more people would have the Griffin and all of the mounts and stuff and unlock them. And so maybe they did want to give it a couple of weeks, but I kind of expected this past week that we would have seen some monetization on them, and we haven't yet.
You know, talking about that, maybe that's one of the things they didn't want to do to ruin it. Like, they didn't want to just be like, here's a mount pack or a mount skin pack. And it's just like, what's that 5th mount there that no one ever talked about before?
Why am I getting 5 skins when there's only 4?
So could be.
So, maybe it's rolling out slowly. And I think it's easier because I think a lot of people are comparing it to like day 1 for the glider. You got gliding skins. It's like, well, that was the very first step, and the look never changed. They have, 5 mounts. Like they don't.
Well, and the basic
they don't have
glider,
to make 1 for 1.
It's pretty boring looking as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think gliders in general are just easier to design to monetize for. Mounts, you would think, hey, that's easy to monetize for, but it'll be interesting. I mean, I feel like there's 2 different paths they go. They go with the armor hats way, where the mount doesn't actually change, but the look of the mount changes with gear and whatever. Or they do a thing where it's a completely different looking mount that does the same thing as, say, a raptor. And the question is, which way is it going to be, and how much is it going to cost? Because putting a Santa hat on a mount is much cheaper than making the raptor a
Godzilla.
I don't know, a horse, let's say.
There are no horses in Tyria.
Lies. Anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, we shall see if or when we ever do come out with mount skins, because I don't think any dev has said mount skins. It's all the players going, well, this is just obvious.
Right.
So, I think I've tried to stress that every week. It's like, it's the community that's hopeful. We all imagine they would, but there is no dev that has, I believe, said it yet. But especially when we had the ability to ask them anything, like this past week. They did a Path of Fire Reddit AMA. And
it's like magic at this point. It's just
We'll try to go through most of the ones that like popped out for us. If there's ones that popped up for you guys that you felt were important to do, let us know in the chat. But yeah, I'd like to hear like which ones you guys saw and were surprised by, not surprised by. Why are people asking this?
I wanted that Paula Joko musical.
Like,
See,
why
am
did they
so
cut
happy.
Joko?
And I do
I'm
want
the
to
only
warn there
one.
might be
I'm the only
minor
one.
spoilers in here, like just as a heads up to people. But
Yeah.
this is
I think I'm the only person who was happy that they cut the Joko musical.
Blasphemy.
I know.
Well,
Everybody else is like,
I
"Oh, I want that so bad. Are you gonna give it to me?" And I'm like, "Thank God."
honestly, I think I did think of
Thank
you like when we
Joko.
talked about that. You're like, I don't want him to be silly, and then they're like,
Like, he's going to be silly, right? He's going to have a certain silliness to him, a jokiness to him, whatever. Like, he's going to be a Canuck, Ritlock, jokey kind of character. I understand that. That's what he was like in Guild Wars 1. So I expect it. But a musical number, I feel like they probably cut it because it kills the pace and thematic of what was happening.
Yeah, that's true. That makes sense.
Yeah, that would have been a little like big-lipped alligator moment. If anyone else is familiar with the term from Nostalgia Critic.
Now, that doesn't mean I don't want to see it at some point where it doesn't fit in somewhere else. But I don't know, with the way Path of Fire has played out, like where like they would put his dance number in the Judgment. Like, come on, like how does it fit?
yeah.
If we go into the realm of torment, it would be perfect for a dance number there.
we
I
go
don't
in the
know. I
realm
just-
of torment. Sorry, dreaming. Anyway.
Man. There was also the Scourge shade thing that was interesting as well.
Yeah.
The thing about the Scourges not being able to keep up, like there are two things with Scourges. One, they were able to stack shades to get multiple effects on the same target from multiple shades, which they're not supposed to be able to do.
I think she agreed.
She did.
Is she okay?
She did a thing. I don't.
No! There's
Is it
a
a-
dwarf bro!
Oh, there's another dwarf. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So
She hurt herself.
So it was like
There's the
it was a
dwarf.
good Okay, that's
It was a
that's-
good So there was that which I experienced firsthand during Zero to Hero this past week, where we did ranked, the first night of ranked for Zero to Hero for Path of Fire, and there were some experiences with that. But I was definitely getting like massively Condi bombed by Scourges who were overlapping shades, because I was actually kind of curious that all the shades I saw were running not the massive AoE shade trait, because that just strikes me as a no-brainer for bunkering in PvP, because that more than covers one of the smaller points, and it's huge to be able to force people to have that amount of pressure over that bit of area. Now, the other issue I take with it is, no, we don't want Scourges to be able to keep up 3 shades at all time. It's like, then why did you give them 3? That's we don't want Scourges to be able to keep up 3 shades out all the time, but then don't give them 3. If you only want 2, only give them 2. That extra bit of AoE coverage is the baseline shade size. I really don't think is that effective, being able to like spike that amount of area control for the amount of time you can keep that 3rd shade up. I don't think it's worthwhile for that to even be considered in balance. But
I think it's probably a big thing, mostly for World vs. World, you know,
Mm-hmm.
where
Yeah.
Spellbreakers and Scourges are just. It's
well, we
party
already
time.
we always knew
we knew it was coming.
that Spellbreakers were going to be nuts. I mean, Winds of Disenchantment plus Enchantment Collapse, or whatever the Grandmaster 1 is, where it's if you remove a boon, remove 5 boons from near targets.
Yeah.
That's just dumb, the amount of
I-
boon strip you have there.
I don't have any problem. I don't have huge problems against Spellbreakers. I just had to remember about full counter, and then it's like, oh, okay, this isn't as bad.
Right,
With
that's their
Scourge-
trick.
Yeah.
Ignore their trick or get out of their trick, and then you're good.
With Scourges, it was a lot harder to fight because they can put a shade in between them and you. And so I had to, when I fought a Scourge 1v1, I had to basically use short bows 75% of the time. And then when that Scourge realized it, he uses like trees to line of sight me. So I'm like, ugh. So I have to go around and shoot him and jump him and things like that. So if I ever swap back to like dagger pistol, they'll just pop another sandshade on me, and I have to go back to kiting and all that stuff. And by the time I actually killed that specific Scourge, 2 other of his friends showed up and just bodied me at the end. So yeah, good times. So technically they're good at staying alive in terms of zoning you out, but you don't want to just stand in front of a Scourge because you'll take a bunch of condies. Yeah, it's really rough.
There was a point where they talked about the focus of Path of Fire maps, and it's one of these things where I said at the beginning, I want to reiterate it. You know, I'm grateful that there's AMAs and that the devs talk to us. And sometimes you're going to get answers you don't like, and this is one of those times where I got an answer that I don't like the answer, and it's that Path of Fire maps were designed around deep and meaningful exploration. That is awesome. I mean, that is what I love. That's one of the things I love about Guild Wars 2 that I feel like Heart of Thorns sort of missed out on. It's not that it didn't have exploration; it did. I just don't think it was nearly as good as the core game or what we're seeing in Path of Fire. But they also said that map-wide metas didn't have a place in this expansion. And I think that's absolutely 1,000% wrong. Now, I do understand that the maps are much larger, and so that there is an issue having an entire map-wide meta. So that is probably not the direction to go in. But we said on the pre-show, having a Garrett or an Octovine in 1 or 2 maps has extreme replayability to those areas, and should have been part of Path of Fire. And to sort of say that, you know, it didn't have a place in the expansion, come on, that's not true. That's not true. You can take Augury Rock's event and tune it up and build it up more than it is, and that could be a Garrett type event. You can take the Mouth of Torment and you can change it a bit because it has lanes to be like an Octovine type event, I think. So I don't think that they don't have places.
I think the issue there, though, is, I mean, do you remember before they put the raid zone in and people would just AFK in front of the portal for Wing 1? And people would often complain in map chat that it's like, we've got 30 or 40 people just kind of AFK in front of the raid portal and the map is full. And we were trying to get a tier 4 night clear in Verdant Brink.
Sure.
So the issue there is, even if there's like you would have to have a smaller map. They would have had to consciously make the decision to make one of the maps just a map meta-sized map. Because having something that's only part of the map, you've got people that aren't going to do the meta. And if it's designed like the other metas, that it's just like, get people in here, we need people. Yeah, you need the numbers. You'll have people in other parts of the map just exploring and getting masteries and hero points and all that stuff.
Sure, that's
You'll
absolutely
end up capping
true.
out the map population.
But that already happens in Heart of Thorns, and people circumvent that by creating LFG groups just for those meta events. So yes, that is a problem. That's a problem you could more easily circumvent if we had a neighborhood system, please. It's been 5 years. But I still think that these extremes of not having any of these super large meta events versus having nothing but, I don't think that's the answer either. The answer is a mix. The answer is a fine balance. And I do understand exactly what you're saying, Jim. Like, yes, you're not, you know, people are going to say, well, I'm just exploring. I don't want to do whatever is going on. I want to go get this point. That's totally cool. And Path of Fire is really geared towards that. But I think players will find a way around. I mean, they have in the past. They do today. They find a way around those things with LFG groups and the way that sharding works.
Well, I wonder if the local metas are going to start to pick up, because now I think in the, like, maybe a couple days ago, they finally had confirmation, which it was pretty much assumed, but we finally had a drop of that confetti infusion that drops from the confetti choya meta in Crystal Desert or Crystal Oasis. Sorry.
And I
It's
understand
once you
what
do
people are
the
saying.
it's once you do the
People-
casino coin collections.
Confetti aura?
Yes.
Yeah. There's
Inks gonna love that.
I haven't seen it. I know that it drops from like the legendary Choya, confetti Choya or something.
Yeah, it was heavily
Yeah.
assumed just because that was the only logical one, because it's literally a legendary
Logic.
confetti Choya. But
Yeah.
I think it was finally dropped for someone that I think they posted like maybe on Thursday, I want to say.
Mm.
They didn't. People were like, "We want
just-
pictures." They're like, "I sold it." Like, which smart on them.
I just want to say too, like, for people who say like, people didn't want big meta events. That's a very polarizing thing, right? Because you're always going to hear from the majority that doesn't like something. So in Heart of Thorns, the devs heard a lot from people who, we don't want these meta events. We don't want these meta events, right? But there's always a silent group of players who do love those meta events. And to be honest, in Season 3, some of the feedback was, specifically for Bitterfrost Frontier, there should have been a map-wide meta event there. The storm happens, and then it goes away. There's no boss, there's no crescendo, there's nothing. It just falls flat. And that map felt underdeveloped, and it should have had a map-wide meta event. And I'm sure in Season 4 that is a possibility, that is something that we'll probably see, which is cool, but that doesn't repopulate the Path of Fire maps necessarily. And I don't think that the Path of Fire maps in the long term are necessarily going to super suffer, but it doesn't help that these things aren't there.
What's interesting is that Draconis Mons does kind of have a map meta with those two destroyers at the end after a chain.
Yep.
People go for. So it is kind of interesting when we don't have more of those type of events.
The problem is that's kind of what I was talking about with inks before. Is that's one of those half measures kind of things where you have people who are there for collecting lilies. You have them there for collecting other stuff. And you don't have to do it.
Yeah, we do have like kind of smaller.
There's a bigger issue on sorry, Age. There's a bigger issue on season maps as well. Is in that the rewards, it's not rewarding enough for you to do that meta event, and so it gets overlooked and it's not done. Because the rewards for Draconis Mons are getting your backpacks and getting the minis and things that you need fire orchids for. But fire orchids are so plentiful that you don't really need to do those metas in order to feel extra rewarded from that. Where there's a difference with something like Arc Basin and the Octovine, when you do that event, not only do you get extra currency, but it unlocks an area for you to go dig for chests, which give even more value and currency. And the Garant is good. The Garant's reward is good for two reasons. Number one, Chak eggs are hard to come by, and so you want to do that event to get your Chak eggs. And number two, it also gives you a lot more of the currency to open the chests in that map. But Draconis Mons doesn't have that because orchids are everywhere. And so orchids as a reward don't really mean a whole lot. It's kind of like if they did add a boss to Winter Frontier, whatever the heck it's called, Bitterfrost Frontier, if they added a boss and he dropped winter berries, who the hell would care? You get 50 to 60 winter berries per character and you can buy whatever the heck you want. Winter berries have very little value in terms of replayability for players. You know what I mean? So it's not a big enough carrot on a stick in those season maps because of the way that the rewards are structured and tiered. And there's not a special area that you can go and unlock chests. Now, if they add a boss to Bitterfrost Frontier, that when you kill him, unlocks that northern region that you need a potion for normally, and it's filled with chests for you to loot in a 2-minute timer or a 3-minute timer, whatever X amount of time, then it becomes valuable and worth it, and players will come back for that event again and again. The rewards are a consistent issue with Guild Wars 2, and they talk about this as much in the AMA and how they'll probably adjust rewards for Path of Fire going forward from here.
Yeah, I was gonna say there are some like small meta event chains that happen. They're not on a map-wide scale, but like the Dead House is one, for example. It'd be kind of cool if that, after you kill that boss at the end, kind of you had a chance to get something from that you wouldn't normally get. That would be kind of interesting if they did rewards in that sort of fashion. That way it keeps the maps kind of full and people are always going back for some of those events.
Kind of like in Dragon's Den, you can get the Mordrum guard weapons. Like I got the staff not too long ago. So you're talking basically something like that. You could get unique skins that are only held by like some of the awakened guards or something.
Yeah.
Right?
And those do exist in Path of Fire. Somebody was opening chests the other day, and they got a music box out of one of the dwarven chests in the Riverlands, which is, I think, a very rare drop. And so I don't know if it's been data mined or whatever, but apparently there's a number of these music boxes that are just starting now to appear because the drop rate is so rare. I think that's a reward some people will chase, right? But they're in chests, so you just run around and open chests until you get lucky. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
And yeah, going back
another
to
big topic. Okay.
I'll say going back to what Chat was saying of like, you know, the story's its own reward. I agree. While I enjoyed the story, I think what even Jim was saying in chat was, you know, it's a one-time thing. You can't really can't recapture that magic. Or honestly, it feels like the expansion maps, and while I enjoy them, like, and we said this in the past, I would have liked a mix of them, not all one or one of the other, which seems like what Hot and PoF are. It seems like PoF's maps are, you go there to experience it. The Hot maps, you go there to do something. Like,
for the record, I think Path of Fire maps, I think their longevity comes from things like gathering and discovery. A lot like the Corteria maps. People still go and populate those. Yes, they'll do the champ trains and stuff like that, especially if they make it more valuable to do. It's not that there's not stuff to do and there's not replayability there. It's just that there could be more replayability with a meta event or two. Not a meta event, but like a large scale meta event. But I was going to talk about the weather effects next, and how Renet said that you know, there's a number of weather effects that have to do with this, which was a little bit shocking at first, because in the demo we didn't really get to experience these weather effects necessarily. And one of the criticisms from like Wooden Potatoes and a couple other people was that, where are the weather effects, you know? And it turns out that these weather effects do exist in some of the other maps, where you get rain and you get the sort of the sandstorm, the fog that kind of, you know, obscures your vision a bit and stuff. And they also said that you may notice some content changes that accompany the weather. And I think that is pretty exciting.
Oh yeah,
That's pretty exciting.
because I do love that Highlands area, like that part, like the Dwarven area, like just it, since it's on a map where it's like mainly desert and stuff, you definitely feel like you're changing elevations, and it's just the you know, fog rolling in, and can that be a guild hall, please, Anet, please, like
Dwarven Ruin Guild Hall.
Speaking
I
of
love. Go ahead.
No, I just said
I
dream
was-
come true. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of guild halls, there's not a guild content team right now.
Yeah.
This one actually like temporarily enraged me when I read this, because
I was sad about this.
The first thing I thought was like, how short-sighted, you know? I'm not trying to be mean and cruel to the internet devs. I'm really not, but and you know, to be fair, Mo made some really good points. He said when he took over as game master, he wanted to reduce the number of teams, but increase the number of people in those teams to produce content at a more steady pace. I feel like he's accomplished that, generally speaking. I feel like we are getting content at a fairly decent pace now, quality content at that. Some people will debate that. That's fine. But there's no guild team. I mean, come on. Guilds are the backbone of an MMO, generally speaking. Yes, there are going to be solo players out there who don't necessarily join a guild, who don't play with other people. But in the downtimes, when there's no content, guilds are what keep long-term players around. Interacting socially with other people, be it raids, fractals, and so forth. not everybody, but a good deal of people will just have a better time if they're involved in a guild. But those guilds need to have things to do. And having guild content from 4 years ago, is it 4? 3, 4? That hasn't been updated? Come on, come on. Where is the guild content? You give us one new guild hall with no upgrades to that guild hall. WTF, what is up with that? And a couple of, a couple of decorations, which of course decorations will continue to increase. That's great. But there's no upgrades to the guild hall. There's no further expandability there.
There's no further exploration upgrade to it, like the other ones were?
Like, there's nothing to build upon. If you have a maxed guild hall, you have a maxed guild hall. It didn't change with Path of Fire. That's sort of what I mean there, right? If you want to start from fresh, like WP is doing, and build up, you'll experience that. Cool. But, I mean, come on. Where's the expandability of that guild hall? That doesn't even touch on the problems that exist within the guild hall arena, which need attention, because that system is sort of failing on its own to provide what it was meant for. But I don't know, man. I see that there's no guild team, which I sort of understand. And he's kind of like, well, in free time, sometimes people work on stuff when they can, and we have very passionate devs. And I love the passionate devs. I love the developers at ArenaNet. They all do a fantastic job, in my opinion. But come on, man, there's got to be some more. There's got to be some more stuff for guilds. There needs to be new guild missions. There needs to be some sort of integration with bounty systems. I mean, you created a whole new bounty system, which is cool. There's no guild integration. What? Why? I don't know, man.
It would have been actually if you tied bounties with guild missions, it would have been perfect. Because I legitimately thought they were going to do that. The only real guild content that Pathfire offers is bounties if your guild goes up and organizes a night to do them per week, and then there's the guild hall where after you capture it, you're pretty much doing the same thing you've done for the last couple of months, except you're probably making new decorations if you're a scribe in the guild. That's pretty much it. What I was hoping for is new guild missions, and like I was asking for Llama Rush for like 3 years now, so it's really weird that they don't include one or two new things.
And chat saying it's not
content you do as a guild. It does take place in the open world, but
when I saw a lot of this stuff, I was like, I agree with what you guys are saying of like this could be like greatly integrated with guilds, but then I'm like, in reality, I felt like it's not going to be. It's just going to be something to replace this stuff without giving that guild reward stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, rewards need to come along with new integrated systems. There needs to be a reason for you to want to be in the guild and to play with other people and to get rewarded for doing so. One of the big mistakes was what they did, the resonating slivers. They were a pain to get because you basically got them mostly through guild missions, but then they opened it up to too many sources rather than just a couple and flooded it, and they became totally worthless. I don't know, man. There's no guild group. There doesn't seem to be a real drive for that kind of content. And I'm sorry, but when there's an expansion, I kind of expect there to be guild upgrades and stuff. I expected me to take my level 69 guild, or what I think is 69 that you go to now, right? 70, 69, 70, whatever it is. I expected to expand upon that. Go to 80, go to 90. I expected more upgrades within the guild hall.
We want mastery levels for our guilds.
Or
actually,
I don't know. Like I expected more for guilds in general. Guild integration, guild missions, guild rewards, that sort of thing. Because right now, I have to say, I was in a guild with Age, with Jim, and I don't even know that Maven even does guild missions so much anymore together because
we don't.
Because I mean, we had fun for like 3.5, almost 4 years, but we've been doing the same missions. I mean, we literally drew all of the fun out of that content for 4 years.
But
there's only so much.
And honestly, that was you guys had the you had the time start penalties for the guild rushes.
Well, we
You
made
had
stuff
the
up because
yeah. That's
it
the
was
problem is
unsupported.
you're making stuff outside of the game to make the game fun. The game should be fun.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I was actually hoping that we could do guild missions or do guild stuff again when Pacifier came out, but since there was no new guild missions, there was just people coming together for hero points to unlock their elite specs, some bounties, and that's pretty much it. I don't think the interest in doing guild missions is there. I know a lot of people who actually came back to the guild or start logging in again, but I don't see us doing guild missions anytime soon, which kind of stinks because it would have been nice to try out the new guild missions with people again.
and then you mentioned the arena system, Inks. We've talked before about let us buy map modules. Let us do the snowball fight. Let us do Dragon Ball. Let us do the one MOBA map that was available for year one when the Mad King showed up. Like, let us do that. Let us make an actual, like, have the guild hall have an actual PvP arena. Like, it's a custom arena, but it's tied to your guild hall instead of tied to an individual player.
There's a whole host of problems as well. I'd love to do a video on it with Roy, who really sort of understands the system better than me. But there's a whole host of reasons why GVGs don't even work very well in that arena, which could have been a good outlet for guild versus guild. It is a bit too small sort of for that, I guess some people would argue. But even if it wasn't, even if you fix that issue, there's a whole host of other issues why GVG doesn't really work in the guild hall. Instancing and sharding being one of the problems, but also because it adheres to PvE rules and not necessarily world versus world rules and such. And so there's an issue with that as well. It could be really good, but
it also brings up a really good point in chat, especially with guild hall stuff, is people see how old this stuff is, that people are talking about guild hall stuff, like how old these issues are, and people are still talking about these guild hall things being issues, and nothing's been done with them.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't mean that this stuff can't be addressed, or maybe perhaps won't be in the future. That might come in like a feature pack, but it should have really been part of the expansion, in my opinion. And because there's no team, like Mo said, this relies on an individual dev taking this up as a side project.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there are a ton of passionate people at ArenaNet. There's a lot of features that we have because of passionate devs that wouldn't exist otherwise. But I mean, I'm not going to just hold my breath for guild updates because there's a passionate dev out there. If there is, thumbs up to you. I mean, nothing but praise for you. For any dev who takes on a personal project and sacrifices their free time for it. But it's a little disappointing for me, is my ultimate point.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about this in the past, like what Chat was saying, like they talk about Living World Season 1 metas taking too many to be made into a fractal, maybe bring them back as guild content. Like when guild halls were first announced, and I don't think they told us what they were, I think I was like, I would love it to be in a, like, we found another part of the fractal, in the fractal, you know, the mists, and your hall is in there, so it could be anything, and then you could trigger something like, oh no, there was an instability, now, you know, the Jade Maw is attacking, you'd have like a big tentacle come across your guild hall, like you'd have a battle. That's a lot harder to do with, like, what, a portal to the mist opened up and the Jade Maw just entered the windswept, you know, haven. Like, that's a little bit more weird. But I agree. I would like to see, like, you maybe protecting your guild hall itself. Like, I liked when, you know, recapturing or when you capture the guild hall. It's like, it's a fun event that, you know, changes things. It would be great to couple it with other stuff like that. But
the other problem I have with the guild halls, changing guild halls, doesn't stow all your set decorations.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just kind of floating in the same mapped area in the next guild hall that you move over to.
It's kind of funny at some point.
Yeah, but what if those entities are now inside of an object and you can't see them to remove them?
There's a remove all, I believe, which kind
I
of
couldn't
sucks.
find anything about it.
I'm pretty sure someone said
There is a remove all. I don't know what it's listed under because I don't really
Okay.
play with that, but there is a remove all. It removes everything. But yeah.
That's the sucky bit, yeah.
To be fair, changing guild halls would be a reason to use that command. So
Sure. Yeah.
Any other things from the AMA, just for sake of time, since we do have a good bit of stuff to talk about?
I mean, there's lots of other little tidbits to pull out, but we could be here for hours just
Yeah.
talking about, I think, each and every single one of them. Those were the big ones for me that sort of like upset me or struck me at a funny balance or something like that. There's a lot of other cool hints at things that might be coming, toys and tonics and so forth. And so there was a whole discussion, which I don't think this is the proper place for, about optimization and general optimization of Guild Wars 2 and sort of how it works on a thread count and so forth. But another place, another time.
But actually, overall, do you guys, and I think we talked a little bit about this, but did you guys enjoy the AMA being what now 2 weeks after
I think it's
PoF?
way better. Yeah.
Now,
I think it's way
granted,
better.
I don't expect the same amount of 2 weeks, after their like a living story, but maybe I think we've talked about in the past, like it drops on a Tuesday, give them till Friday doing an AMA, or
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, do you guys like this where it's so far, I don't want to say removed, but distanced from the actual content that it seems like a lot of people got to play it?
It makes the most sense. I mean, it doesn't make sense to have an AMA the day of content drops, because people need to actually play through it and collect their thoughts and have an opinion on certain things, and even go out and explore some other things in order to have a good, strong opinion and have good questions, like Inks mentioned earlier. So I do agree that having them near the end of the week, like on a Friday, or in this case for the expansion 2 weeks after, I think it was a good idea. Everyone has all the information to properly process and ask good questions. I totally agree.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to complain, because I think a lot of information, a lot of interesting points came up, which I don't think would have gotten asked or said if it was literally, okay, we released it, now we're doing an AMA like that at noon, or a couple hours after they released it. But it could also have been just because people paid for it, they didn't want to be like, okay, spoilers and all that stuff, and that might have also been a reason. I have no, I don't know. But, I think a lot of people prefer this method where we have at least some time for the majority of people to play.
that, and another thing, people were going to ask about the Griffon. So a lot like when I was talking about, where are the skins mounts? Well, they don't want to be talking about something that's technically hidden content before a decent chunk of people have had a chance to actually find it.
Any more final thoughts on the AMA? Like I said, if you're watching us on YouTube and we missed something, or even during after show live, we can go back to stuff. It's just right now there's a lot. But
I answer a lot of comments every week, so leave comments. I do check them. We all check them.
Indeed. Speaking of like hidden content, at least to me, PvP Legacy of the Foe Fire suggested changes, plus the new PvP runes and amulets.
Oh God,
that took me a second. No, sorry.
It was a more personal one.
That was well played. Yeah.
So there was forum posts about Foe Fire suggested changes, reducing the size of the midpoint. Supposedly, because I never noticed, the midpoint is really big compared to the other points. This lets kiting particularly effective and stuff like that. Reduce run times to home. So what are your guys' thoughts that tend to play PvP more than I do, which would literally be anybody? I think chat was even saying they started PvPing, so you probably are well ahead of me.
I don't
Don't
I
do
don't
it.
think I don't think I'd have a problem with changing the map size. Like kind of what they did with Capricorn when Capricorn went from beta to live version. I don't think I'd have too much of a problem with kind of a restructuring of the map. However, the midpoint, it's what, 2 or 3 times the normal size of a point page?
Yeah, I would say so.
So one of the bigger issues is, yes, it makes kiting a better thing, but the thing is, mid is also a sunken, effectively an arena. So one of the bigger problems I was having this past week, 0 to Hero, is there are some buildings you can jump up to that require a long run to get up to. There was a Deadeye sitting on top of that building just sniping people. So it's not, the reason why it's so big is because long-range attackers, while not on the point, basically have free range to shoot at you and know when people are coming for them, because they have lines of sight to all of the ways that they're going to be attacked. So you can't cover the entire area with, say, Guardian or Ranger Longbow 5. You can't cover the entire area with other AoEs from other professions, unlike other points. Most AoEs cover the entirety of a standard PvP point. So I think there's a little bit of give and take with the midpoint on Faux Fire, but I think that's honestly one of the things that makes the map unique. I will actively change my elite skill based on what map I go to. Like specifically, like I'm playing my warrior, I won't take Winds of Disenchantment on Faux Fire because the point's too big. I can't cover the whole point with my Spellbreaker's elite. I'll switch to the Signet for warrior, that's the elite, because it serves me better in that particular instance. And also the question from Crichton Herald, mounts in structured PvP, I would be completely against. That's dub-v-dub, I think they kind of might have a place if there was like a unique dub-v-dub mount, like a char bike or something.
So they could control it better.
Yeah, like, so kind of like how gliding is controlled entirely by the one dub-v-dub trait track. I don't know what they're really called in dub-v-dub, but that's how gliding is controlled there. You don't get the access to your mastery abilities in dub-v-dub. You have whatever that trait track gives you. But I would think it would be a more controlled something for that. But yeah, the Faux Fire changes leave mid, maybe reduce the size of the map.
The reason I say, yeah, don't reduce the size of mid, mostly because with Heart of Thorns they introduced a ton of AoE. So and with Path of Fire you have Scourge. So as long as Scourge still exists, they're going to just dominate those kind of smaller points. If you reduce mid to that type of point, there's just no counterplay for that type of play. You're just gonna have a ton of AoE all over the place, and it's just not fun to play. And so I do think I agree with Mathanas that there's like give and take with that type of point. So I would actually say put more of those bigger midpoints so that it produces more interesting encounters.
Well, chat's saying, mounts no way in PvP or world it'll be too easy. I mean, I was gonna say if they would do them in PvP, which I really wouldn't think, they would have to have a separate category, because that really just screws over people that don't have PoF. More so I would say than the not having access to the elite specs. It's like they literally can't get there fast enough.
I also kind of don't mind Crichton Herald's thought on mounted combat. Like, I was kind of thinking maybe that might end up happening. And we kind of got a little bit of that in the story for the race chapter of things.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit.
Sort of, yeah.
And in the AMA, there was supposed to be an open PvP thing in Vabi, but they had to take it out due to performance. That would have been really cool to introduce mount combat there, just for that event. That would be really cool.
Oh,
But
jousting tournament. Anyway.
Yeah.
The only thing with the way it currently, it would have to be iterated on, right? Because really it's just an engage. It's not really mounted combat necessarily.
That's what we want.
I think like it can work in World vs. World maybe, but it needs to be a gutted system that
Just like the
needs
gliding, yeah.
specific. Like it's even I think it's even more work than gliding was to add mounts to World vs. World, because gliding is really just sort of gliding, right? And that needed changes and reworks. But mounts have masteries tied to them. They have engage abilities. And
That's why it would
there's
have to be a
different types of
totally
mounts.
separate World v World mount,
Right.
so they can
It would
control
have to be World vs. World specific with its own ability line that probably doesn't have engage. But that only works in your captured regions.
Yeah.
But then that's kind of tough as well, because that means that you get back to defending faster, which makes it even more difficult for attackers. But then you have things like emergency waypoints that allow you to bring people in anyway. I don't know. There's a lot to think about there. But yeah. I'm not saying it wouldn't be cool. It would be cool.
Maybe then
I
all
think there's a
traps,
lot of-
because can't you buy World v World traps or something?
Yeah, you
Maybe
can.
all traps will automatically dismount people, so it entices people to get traps to lay behind them if
Could
they're
be,
sieging
yeah.
but yeah, if they did it in World v World, like we said, I think it'd have to be a controlled mount, so a new separate one, and then I think, like Inks was saying, I would imagine it'd have to use the same system of you can only ride it in your controlled area, but.
Yeah, and like I understand, like in your capture region, it sort of defeats the purpose. I get that, but if you just let people ride mounts anywhere, then that means attackers get back to the fight too fast as well. Then perhaps I don't know. I don't know. It's tough. It's sort of it's a lot of things that need to be tested and balanced over and over again. I think to really get it right.
I mean,
if you're gonna add them.
If it's anything like gliding in World v World, it pretty much took them the entirety of the expansion. So maybe they're looking at maybe how to implement it. So we might not get it for another 2 years. So, but yeah. But let's talk about the amulets and runes you're gonna get in PvP, or the suggested ones. These ones are actually coming in. Celestial, so all stats plus 460. You get 460 to all the stats, except for concentration expertise. Grieving, which is power and condition damage at 1050, precision and ferocity at 560. Harrier, which is power at 1200, healing and concentration at 900. Marshal, which is power and healing at 1050, and precision and condition damage at 560. And then some that the names are still to be determined will be power and precision at 1050, healing and vitality at 560. Another one will be power and precision at 1050, condition damage and vitality at 560. And another one that will be to be determined will be power and condition damage at 1050 and vitality and precision at 560.
I want to go back to my dual dagger base Ellie with cantrips with Celestial.
I would go Weaver too. It'd be a lot of fun. Yeah, some of these amulets. There's a lot of Celestial might bring up a little controversy, I guess, but otherwise, I think most of these are just hybrid setups, with the exception of Harrier, which offers you more healing / boon type of setup, which is pretty interesting. I think Renegade could possibly benefit from one of the to be determineds. It gives power, precision, condi damage, and vitality, just because some of the traits in Renegade gives extra ferocity and expertise. So, condition duration. So it could be interesting to play around with.
I don't know if I'll be switching my warrior out, but I'm definitely going to mess around with my elementalist a bit. I'm actually kind of sad because the only time I saw a Weaver was when I was playing unranked 2 weeks ago. Like, Weavers are just not getting played in PvP right now, and it kind of makes me sad.
You think it's the skill bar's too high, or?
I think one of the their signets was broken. The water one, I think.
They're just weavers, and like I played my elementalist that unranked night, and I had no problems as Tempest. Like I was able to do just the same amount of stuff I had ever done. Weaver. Anytime I saw a weaver jump in with a sword, they just kind of either did nothing, so we ignored them, or they died super fast. So
Yeah, I think a lot of them are building for damage. What I feel like when I played Weaver, I built more of a sustaining type of thing because I had so much inbuilt damage. I felt like I could just do sustained combat a lot better, and it worked really well. I fought against a Mirage 1v1. Mirage definitely knew what he was doing. I did not know what any of my sword skills were, but I was able to like go 2-1, 1-2. I lost 2 matches, but too bad.
But also, you know, we're getting the runes, all the new elite spec runes, except for Scourge. They also said they're not adding Rebirth, which is the healing power, concentration, ignores next lethal blow, and gain barrier instead.
Or if
So-
it's broken.
Yeah, that would be pretty bad.
there's only one effect that is applicable in PvP that does that, and that's rebound. Which, to be honest, the heal the rebound gives you, I've legitimately never known if it's actually gone off.
It's
I could not
a 2-3 heal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's such a small heal. The scaling is terrible. Like, it's not like you can throw a Magi's Amulet on it and it actually works. No, it's just, I can't tell if it saves my life or not because it's not substantial enough. The problem that I have is that the Scourge rune with the Rebirth thing is a substantial enough save that you would actually notice it, but they're not going to put it in. Which, I don't know. Like, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but I kind of get that I could put this on my warrior if I got the Scourge rune, and then I would just, like, I'm tanky enough as is. There were people telling me to just die already, and they were 3v1ing me. I was just holding up point.
Already.
Just die already. Clunk, thunk. No.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I kind of understand why they didn't want to put it in, but
Well, any final thoughts on the suggested changes to the map or the new runes or amulets?
Please don't decrease the size of mid. I do agree that the runtime to home is long. They should just flip the points in that respect, and they'd be fine. But just don't reduce the size of mid.
Okay, well, I mean, like Chad's saying, I should, you know, if I want to get into PvP, I should join gym during 0 to Heroes, which is conveniently on Wednesdays at, what is it, 6, what do you do, 6:30? 7 p.m. Eastern on Talking Skritt. It usually goes
Why is
for
it
right around 2
convenient?
hours. Yeah, it very much is. But, you know, I was always that one person that liked to use, like, custom maps to do, like, PvP shenanigans, but not like these shenanigans that some people are doing in the NA. These are bad shenanigans that these people are doing. So submitted a few hours ago, apparently there's an NA player that is currently occupying the top spots on the NA leaderboard and selling spots to players who want them. One player.
He's an NA. Big surprise. This is what happens. This is why we can't have nice things. This is what happens when you allow a team to circumvent the system, break terms of service, let them create new accounts, and play in the next monthly automated tournament without any real penalty. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. This is just ridiculous.
wait, what was the one thing we were talking about before Inks came? Inks, you got to do it.
You gotta do what? Oh, yeah. This is just another, and this is exactly what's gonna happen. Just a little, you know.
Yeah, apparently this happened also all last season as well, which, yeah, I mean, like we said, it just came out a couple hours ago, so there's not too much information going back and forth about it, but it just does not seem of course, it doesn't seem good that a person's kind of just selling spots for people that are
And
at the
this
top.
isn't new. This
Yeah.
isn't even new. This has been going on for at least a couple of seasons. That's what's even like, my head. I just can't. You know what? I don't really care about PvP that much. I'm sorry to be that rude, but whatever. It's just laughable. It's just laughable to me. It really is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Meanwhile, the last comment on this Reddit thread is, to be honest, if selling raids is okay, I don't really see a problem with selling PvP.
Oh yeah, same thing. Yeah, absolutely. Same thing. It's the same thing as match manipulation and denying other players to play at the top of that content. I guess the other players aren't good enough to beat them. Otherwise, wouldn't be able to do this, I suppose. But
I agree,
Yeah.
chat. It's like if you have to cheat to win, it's like, yeah, what's the point? But I guess some people just want to see. It's like I've completed the game because I have every achievement. It's like, but you didn't earn it. Like,
Yeah. It's kind of, I don't know. It's really hard to be motivated for any competitive for me personally. I've just been getting it from Overwatch now. I have only played unranked this season, and I've only played like 5 games. I'm not getting that pull anymore to play competitive ranked in Guild Wars anymore, which kind of makes me sad because I do like the PvP. It's just that, like, every time I'm like, oh, maybe I'll try some rank this year, and like something like this drops, I'm like, oh gosh, darn it. It's like, but yeah, I don't know.
See, I personally am literally just in it for a graphical representation of me getting better. I finished the first season I played ranked, I ended bronze 3. I'm in gold 2 right now. I'm like gold 1, gold 2. So clearly I've done something to improve.
Oh,
So
nice.
I like seeing that. And then I also make a decent amount of money playing PvP. And I'm okay with that. Do other people bother me? No, not really. But, like Deo says at the top of the show, I'm a moderator on MMO Champion. I've been doing that since Wrath of the Lich King dropped. I realize now that that's like a decade of moderating an online forum. I've had some strange words thrown at me, and it's just at this point, if people get salty in PvP, I don't care because I don't need to increase my blood pressure to play a game.
Yeah, the point for me when playing competitive is just to get better and to play against like good players and to improve. Rewards are nice, and I still agree that there should be end rewards, but that's a topic for another time. But I'm not really that adamant about rewards. I mean, in Overwatch, even there's like golden weapons. I could have gotten golden weapons a long time ago. I just haven't because I like playing. Well, I just like playing with my teammates and like having some fun and improving it all as I go, and that's perfectly fine with me. When I play competitive in PvP, like I wanted to see how far I could go, how well I can play versus other players, and if there's just going to be constant match manipulation, I'm just might as well play in EU if anything. So
yeah,
or there's less or none of it.
The other thing too is like every game has cheaters. Every industry in the real world has cheaters. That is not a defense to allow them to continue. They need to be punished. Okay? This guy has multiple accounts. You need to ban all of them. If he wants to make new accounts and buy new accounts and continue to do it, then you continue to monitor and ban that person. You don't allow them to keep making a joke of the system in this way. And you don't allow them to keep breaking terms of service every season again and again and do nothing to them. It's ridiculous. It just is.
I don't have a problem if he buys multiple accounts and takes the top spots. I honestly don't, because I guess that's a possible thing to do. He's not doing anything technically wrong there, but to sell those spots afterwards is a problem.
Yeah, because you got to figure, in order for him to drop out of those slots for other people to get them, he has to purposefully throw matches.
Which means that the person buying it not only are breaking terms of service, but they're also match manipulating.
But
and it's not like this is 1v1 PvP. There are other people involved that you're manipulating the match for.
Right, there's 9 other people involved in the game. But no, it's Ida. We weren't saying there will always be cheaters. What are you going to do? Just ignore them. We're like I said when I responded in text. We're really just annoyed with the developer. Like ANET's response to this is terrible. Just this is not good. Only banning their accounts and letting those people just go ahead and play in the next tournament, like Ink said at the start of this bit. It's not good. Like,
what did I say was going to happen? Was the response that they sent last time to the Absurd. By allowing them to play in the next monthly automated tournament and doing nothing to them because they just created new accounts, I said it was send a message to the community that it's okay to do. They're going to keep doing it. They're not going to stop. And even if ArenaNet takes action against these guys, which I hope that they do, they'll just create new accounts and do it again. You're going to have to, and it sucks. It really does suck, but you're going to have to stay on top of these guys and watch for them breaking rules. And if they do, you got to smack it down. You can't let it keep happening. Anyway, I'm getting angry. I'm getting upset over a form of the game I don't even play. I really don't even play PvP, I jump in every once in a while for a couple of games. Once I start getting frustrated because I suck, I leave. I go do something else, That's my extent of PvPing, really. But I just hate to see cheaters not dealt with in an appropriate manner. It's not okay to be a cheater.
Yep. I completely agree with that statement.
And Kitten Theory has another good point. This is on the PvE side of things, but there was a known guy reported by a lot of players for trolling and griefing by merging squads to kick people out of fractals. Did it for a long time. And there's proof of it. And whatever, we fixed it, so it's not an issue anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's infuriating.
Yeah. I agree. There should have been something more.
Was there proof of cheating? Yes, absolutely there was. The proof is on Twitter, is on Reddit. Reddit, you can go look at it. Proof is there. Proof is in the pudding. Anyway, let's move on to a positive thing.
Well, there'll be a little bit of positive. But I was gonna say, like, that's why I like PvE. No matter how much I throw at ArenaNet, they're not gonna give me raid kills. Speaking of throwing money at ArenaNet, Gem Store, and always thank you Dolphy.net. Check out Dolphy.net so you can spend your gems more wisely. So first up, we have the branded wing backpack and glider combo for 700 gems. Do note that it cannot be dyed. Like, not even the glider. So what you see is what you get.
This is their solution to not being able to dye the backpacks.
Come on. It's not like this was the first one that you couldn't dye. But it was kind of funny because everybody, like, I think this came out, and everybody's like the kind of the biggest responses were like, well, where's the mount skins? Like, this is pretty, but where's the mount skins? Yeah,
it's pretty cool looking. I don't own it, but I know my wife wanted these because she's into the different wings or whatever. But
I am definitely considering it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you have the look or planning to have that look, like the purple and stuff, that is awesome. Like the electricity coming off of it.
Especially if you're a classic and use bolt along with these, it'd be pretty awesome.
And there's a nice contrast between these and the crystal wings, like they're different enough. They look different enough, and I don't know, they're pretty cool looking.
Yeah, put them on my warrior who's already in that purple and yellow, so I just changed the purple to match the wings a little bit better. She looks awesome.
Some in chat are saying they're already sick of the wing gliders. Yeah, they found something that people were buying and they really stuck with it, which, I mean, people still buy it.
Marketing.
Yep. But yeah, it can kind of get annoying after a while, but that's also even coming from someone that bought some of the wings. I mean, this is probably going to be the first ones I didn't buy McCall or anything like that, but yeah, I don't have a look for this. That's probably why I wouldn't buy them. But you know, they are awesome looking. I'm.
Oh, the meteor. Jeez.
Even the Hounds of Balthazar disagree with the meteor.
I have the meteor, and it is glorious.
It's
It is a
gigantic.
it is a mess of pixels. Like that is just like people complaining about the Spirit Raven, and I guess somebody at ArenaNet was like, "Oh, if they hated the Spirit Raven, let's really piss them off."
I just play One Winged Angel in my head when I go on the meteor. It's great. It's fantastic.
Great. Now the ominous Latin chorus is stuck in my head. Thanks, Age.
It definitely has a place. It's new and creative. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so yeah, you can pick those up for 700 gems. Also, we have the Dragon Watch die pack for 500 gems, which I believe contains, is it one of each? Which is the Bloodstone die kit, the Primordius die kit, a Solar and Lunar die kit, a Vibrant die kit, and a Jormag die kit. Now, my question is, you get those, are they ones you can then select, or is it then a random? It's random.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah, of course. You know, it's
Don't buy these, people. Just don't.
First of all, when I seen that there was a new die thing, I got scared because I'm like, I'm not ready. I don't have any gold. What am I gonna do? You know, I don't have money for the gems. I don't have any gold. I'm gonna miss all these dies. Thankfully, they were just like reproductions.
They're dies you already have.
Thank God. Thank the 6 or the 5. Oh man, praise Joko.
It's all the thing.
But it's RNG die kits. They're absolutely terrible. It's not new news.
Yeah.
Technically, I think this is a better deal because it's only 100 gems per one instead of, what are they normally, 125 a piece?
I think so, yeah.
You get a slight discount for your RNG.
Get a slight, yeah, but the RNG is absolutely terrible. From someone who opens a lot of like Black Lion chests and gets these from time to time from then, you almost always get like 15 to 20 silver worth of dies out of your 100 gems, which is abysmal.
But you might get a bunch of gold out of that.
Yeah, maybe, but it's unlikely.
We'll have to wait for Deo to finish conferring with his agents at the production studio.
Yeah. What was the question? We're talking deals.
No, we were talking about, you know, we were waiting for your segue into the next gem store item.
I don't know if there's any way to sugarcoat this one. This is basically, strap in, everybody. If you followed us on Twitter when we brought this up, this kind of turned into a whole day long. I don't know what's the word. Twit off.
I turned on my tablet and I got like 100+ notifications from Twitter. So they did this past week in the gem store, put in a Central Tyria Waypoint unlock package for 2,000 gems. This is character specific. It will only work for one character, which is what that means. It comes with 5 different unlocks: the Ascalonian Grassland Waypoint unlock, the Shiver Peaks Mountain Waypoint unlock, the Crichton Valley Waypoint unlock, the Maguma Jungle Waypoint unlock, and the Orion Shoreline Waypoint unlock. So basically, it gives you the core Tyria waypoints. And that's it. Just the waypoints. I wish they hadn't created this. Because I think this is, if they continue on with this to me is paying to have parts of the game unlocked for you. One of the things that I often hear people talk about with stuff you can buy on the gem store that is not cosmetic, the boosters, is that they let you gain more power in the game. Yes, that's true. The boosters do allow you to gain more power, but you have to be actively playing to make use of that. Something like this is you are paying to not do something in the game. You are paying real-world funds to not do something in the game. And I have a problem with that. And and the problem was I was actually going to try and do some math on this and actually figure out how much value you get out of map completion, aside from just the gifts of exploration once you finish all of Corteria. So, because once you get to the level 70 to 80 zones, you actually start getting gold for finishing those maps, plus exotic items, ones that you can actually salvage, unlike a lot of the new stuff they give you that can't be salvaged, sold, mystic forged, given to a Skritt, stuff like that. But and Jabu brings up a good point, is why would you sell this after mounts? This isn't targeted at people with Path of Fire. Because your account can exist in 4 states. You can be someone with just Corteria, so just the base game. You can have Core and Heart of Thorns, Core and Path of Fire, and then all 3, the whole game. This is mostly for people with just the core game. They're trying to monetize free players here.
And you could technically, well, I was gonna say you consider the core characters free players, but what if these are returning people? They could have the fully unlocked.
Also
so there's
true.
like 5 versions, but 4 content, I guess, versions, I guess you could say.
Right. But like those are the 4 content states of the game. And my problem with this is whenever I play the game and I see that empty waypoint show up on the edge of my minimap, where do you think I go for? I make a beeline straight to that waypoint. When me and Krista were exploring the Path of Fire zones. Now, granted, Path of Fire has lots more space in between waypoints than the Corteria maps do. But again, that's a map designed to deal with mounts, and Corteria wasn't. But I see an empty waypoint on my map, I'm going to go there. Waypoints have a much larger strategic value than just the pure monetary value they have when going towards a legendary or towards map completion. They allow you to return to an area easily and do other things. Like, I don't make a beeline for vistas or for points of interest or for hero points or masteries the way I make a beeline for a waypoint. So I think that allowing people to just pay to unlock what is one of the biggest breadcrumbs in Guild Wars 2 exploration, especially after they just made an expansion where they're all like, this is all about exploration, and then to sell a pack like this, I think is terrible. But that's me.
And before I try to defend it, I agree with what Jim is saying, and also like what Chat's saying. Pay us money so you don't have to play the game. I've never understood that with all other games that are doing this, but I have. If you saw me on Twitter, I was kind of defending it in a sense. But I think Inks wants to.
I have some helpful advice. If you're considering buying the 2,000 gem package one, that unlocks all of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
all the core tier.
So 2,000 gems is 35 USD. Here's what you should do. There's 2 better ways you can spend your $35. You can pile $35 in front of you, $1 bills, pour some lighter fluid on it and set it on fire, because that's more entertaining. Or you can click my link and buy Path of Fire for $30, save yourself $5, and then you'll get a raptor mount to run around the world much faster and enjoy the game. Both of those are far more entertaining than buying this $20 waypoint unlock.
Oh, man.
Either one of those, and if you set your money on fire, please send me a video.
Well, if I
That's
remember
entertainment for
correctly,
me.
Chat's saying what's the difference between from the Guild Wars 1 when you are able to unlock the elite skill packs? Wasn't that only for PvP, if I remember correctly?
Yes. Yep.
So,
you could only unlock that for PvP. Plus, you could pay in-game money to unlock the stuff in PvP as well.
Mhm.
Or you could play the story to unlock the skills in PvP.
Yeah.
It's
But,
just to me,
okay.
this item doesn't bother me at all. It's a total waste of your money. I want to know how many people bought this.
Honestly,
I
and
know how
that-
many. Please tell me and
That's
give me
my
their account
question.
names so that I
Yeah.
can send them emails that I'm the prince of Vabby and I need money to fund my next scheme. I need to build a pyramid.
We already have you as a picture as like Joko. Just be like, I'm Joko. Yes, and I would like some money.
Please send me their names, ArenaNet, because I need to send them an important email.
Yeah, and honestly, the people that are like, honestly, if somehow this gets to someone that is considering buying this, like we said, it's only character bound. I could see more so if it was account bound, like more people be enticed, but it's only character bound. For the 2,000 gems, I think I should have took a screenshot, but I think I did it on Tuesday when they announced this. But you get like maybe around 1,600 gold for that if you convert that straight to, gems to gold. It probably has fluctuated a little bit since, but if you think about that, that's 1,600. That's 1,600 for that. Or maybe I'm thinking of something else now. But I was trying to do a bunch of math. But if you look at the core tier of map completion, it's a total items you have to acquire is 1,857. There are 486 waypoints, which is what this would unlock. That's 26.17% map completion, like world map completion for a legendary. Because remember, if this is more geared towards someone that doesn't have hot or PoF, they're not going to have access to the masteries to do legendary crafting. For just simple math, that's a quarter of a 16th of what it takes to make a legendary, and probably not one of the hardest. To convert 2,000 gems to gold, you would be already further than what you did by unlocking that. Like, it's definitely not worth it in the price point. I think this is just them trying to capitalize on the people that are lazy or just have more time working than playing a game, and that's their way of catching up.
Imagine, even if I made $1 million an hour, I can't imagine I would ever frivolously spend money like this on unlocking waypoints in a video game that I could just do myself slowly over time. Like, I just can't imagine ever wanting to do this for any reason. I mean, I would just buy legendaries straight up for gold. I mean,
2,000 gems is 432 gold right now.
Okay, I was on. Oh, sorry, I was originally thinking, because we were saying eventually we were talking about the slippery slope argument of what if they eventually just sell all of map completion. I was like, well, if it's roughly 25%, 4 times that would be 8,000 gems. I think 8,000 gems equated to about 16 or something at the time, which that puts you pretty close into a running of some of the cheaper legendaries. I think the most expensive one, Eternity, which is basically 2 legendaries, is 4,000. So, and that's to basically skip all of that stuff. But that's also another point, is because I saw some people when we were talking about it on Twitter, why don't they just sell legendaries? I'm like, well, they kind of do. It's
it's our little roundabout, but
yeah.
For me, it takes away from the exploration of the game, right?
Yeah.
For me personally, it takes away from the exploration of the game. If you're new, like, it doesn't matter what type of content you have or expansion you have. If you're a new player, especially, it just takes away from going to a different point and saying, like, oh, I have this waypoint now. Let's see what's around this area, type of thing, and I can always come back here after that and explore more and more and more and get more waypoints and explore this more. It takes that feeling away from me. I've done map completion way too many times, but I still like going out and revisiting the areas and going through. Oh, okay, I remember this and things like that as I slowly progress and unlock things. It's kind of, maybe I'm unique in that regard, but I still think for especially new players, or where it's geared towards more for the free-to-play players, it takes away that exploration aspect, and I don't really like that too much. And I do agree that you should all spend that money and buy Path of Fire via Inks's link. Get that. And you'll have even more content to go through. It's fantastic.
You'll have a mount. Just run around and open them. Like, save yourself money.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, the item itself doesn't bother me. I think it's absolutely useless. I can't imagine people buying this, but whatever.
Yeah, it's ultimately worrying. But I think we've talked in the past about slippery slope things in the gem store, and I would have to say Arena has been pretty good on not continuing with that, whether it didn't make them money because people just didn't buy it.
I don't know. Like, I don't think they'll ever give us like hard completion, but it wouldn't surprise me in the future if they just said, "Hey, you can buy this and unlock your elite specialization right away. Here's 250 proof of heroics or whatever." I don't know. That might be a bit
Man, they
extreme,
tried so
but-
hard to not get the people that were farming it beforehand. I'd be shocked if they did that, but
I mean, I don't think it's too far of a leap. You have a level 80 boost, so you don't need to level your character anymore. You now have an unlock boost, a waypoint unlock boost. Now you don't have to go get waypoints anymore.
Do they still sell the level 80 on the level 80 boost on the gem store, or was that just a right before the expansion came out kind of thing?
I think it probably comes and goes.
yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but
I don't know if it's still available or not, but regardless, you can see a natural progression to this. Unlock this for your account. Unlock this for your account. You know what I mean? Now you don't have to, you don't have to level up. Here's a level 80. Now you don't have to unlock waypoints. Here's a waypoint unlock. Now you don't have to get hero points for your elite specialization. Here's a hero point specialization unlock.
see, since they're sticking to core, I will say, okay, so people are saying the boost is still there. Since they're only sticking to core for this, I just see it as they are trying to make money off of a free game, which
Sure, yeah.
it's
I don't
for a
disagree
business
with
that's
that.
good for them. If it's a horrible deal for the consumer, but great for ArenaNet. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
I don't want this game to become Star Wars: The Old Republic. Let me put it that way.
Is that
I
a
don't
big
want-
problem in SWTOR?
The Old Republic is a terrible consumer experience from everything I've ever heard. Like, it is their cash shop option is just like, if you try to play that free to play, it's garbage.
I at least heard about that early on like that. I don't know how it is now. I haven't kept in touch with
Right.
it, but yeah, early on, like they would have like quick bars locked behind paywalls.
Yeah. I haven't played it in years since
Yeah.
it went free to play. But
So they could have gotten better. I don't know. I personally haven't kept up with SWTOR. But okay, Chad is saying it's still pretty bad. So, but
oh,
yeah, that's true. This is not a free game, but I don't know. These are just unlock. These are just convenience unlocks, so people don't have to go do the thing. And
I'll say it's not a free game, but it does have a free option. I mean, lots of games that start out in MMOs weren't free games.
Well, yes and no. Yes and no.
It has limiting qualities, but it's not yet. I wouldn't say it's a free to play game. I like how they word it. It's a play for free game. It's an
Play for
extended
free.
demo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not free to play. It's play for free,
Yeah. It's
You can play
It's
World
totally
of Warcraft
different.
for free.
which I have a link for as well. So make sure you hit the play for free link. And nobody ever hits play for free. It's crazy.
shameless.
Yep. Shameless.
Got to get them stacks, yo.
yeah.
That's right. I need to build a
Uh,
computer, so let's make it happen. Cap'n.
There you go. You could see you're asking the community if they could help you get this computer and stuff.
Oh
Something
my
cool
gosh.
something cool that the community could see. And speaking of things that are cool that the community could see, this week in Community Corner, a Redditor by the name of TSP Friendly Fire actually put out a post about an add-on that is a mount radio add-on, and basically, as you can see from the video, it brings up a little wheel. I saw a lot of people on the AMA asking for this, and someone made an add-on for it. Now, just so you know, Chris Cleary actually did say it seemed like it was okay. He talked with the person. Their plans for it seem all right. They're going to keep tabs on it and stuff like that, but it is okay to use. I think they did say there was an update that it also added the elusive fifth mount. So as you're seeing the old video there, has the 4, but apparently there's the 5th one now.
It's pretty cool, I think,
It's pretty nice, yeah.
Yeah.
My radical wheel are my arrow keys and my 0 on my numpad for the Griffon. So it's pretty much the same speed as swapping between mounts. So I think
I don't have
that's
any of that
awesome.
bound. I do it the slow way.
Should bind it. It's amazing. You
Yeah,
don't
no,
have
Fantastic.
I don't have any more buttons.
I use
I just
control.
use my arrow keys. It's great. Or you have like just a combination and you press like 1 to 5 and that's it.
Yeah, I do control plus 1 through 5 at this point.
great.
Age, knowing you, please let me know. Please tell me the combination for your mounts are like a fighter game. You're like up, down, left, left, right, left, like in triangle, and you're like,
Up
all
is,
right, I got the raptor.
Up is raptor, down is skimmer, left is springer, right is jackal, 0 is griffon. And
Oh.
and I bound dismount key to like the period button, but you don't have to ever press that button. You just have to press a mount key to dismount. You just have to have dismount bound to something, which is pretty nice. And I just bound the skills to like their defaults. It's really nice. Bind your mount keys if you can. It's really nice. It helps you to quickly swap between mounts.
That, and they also kept the UI and the keybind section from spoiling anything, because the mount up for a specific mount doesn't show up until you actually unlock that mount.
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
And if you guys are using this, because I saw some people were excited to try it, they did say that this is still early alpha for them, they're making it, but they did say that there were some issues, I think, working with, what was the DPS thing? Arc DPS? Or
Arc DPS.
Oh, Arc DPS, yeah.
you have to change like some of the file names or something to make it work properly. They say it all in that Reddit post, so definitely if you're interested, I threw the link in chat, but also if you're watching this on YouTube, we'll have the link in the description with everything else. But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I think they had an update post where they said that they now made it open source. So,
That's pretty nice.
And
too.
that's where they added the Griffon, I think. But yeah, it's
Them adding the open source is really good for people who want to use the radial command, the radial menu, so they can see like a working representation of it. So that's not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's an awesome job. I know it was a lot of what people wanted.
The radial menu.
I'd assume a hotkey.
Yeah, I think you had to
Just
set up a
one
hotkey
hotkey.
for it.
Yeah.
I believe,
I
and
kind
then
of
you have to
prefer
click on
that
it.
over a hotkey for each mount.
I mean, that's if you have limited. Like, I would recommend this to people who have limited hotkey space.
Yeah,
Like-
I do. I have limited hotkey space.
Like
so.
for me, I can't play Guild Wars 2 without this mouse. Like, I can't play Guild Wars 2 effectively without this mouse because of these side buttons.
Mhm.
But since I still have this set up as 1 through 0, or 1 through like the enter key on the top of my keyboard, I don't ever have to move my hand away from WASD. So I can just drop my palm to hit control while I'm playing, and then I just press 1 through 5. So that's why I have room with the way my setup is. But if you have limited keybinds, or you don't have a mouse that can do that, I definitely recommend this add-on, because then you just have one keybind, and that's it.
Yeah, when I changed mice, I went with a more simplistic mouse because I never used all those buttons.
PvP made me use those buttons.
I just found I just fat finger the buttons too much. I crush too many buttons at the same time. I don't know. Anyway, not important.
Well, that's basically it for the community corner. So, like I said, if you are interested in that, all the links should be in the description on YouTube. Well, we're going to move to spoiler stuff, the story. I figured we'll do it by acts, but this is kind of your warning for, spoilers are inbound. This is your last moment before the spoiler tag goes up. As soon as I find it. So run out of the room, quick. All right. Spoiler tag is up. So, gotta turn Age off. He's broken. Okay. So, what do you guys think about the story? Like I said, we'll go, I think, by act. That'll be probably the best way. So, Act 1 involved Sparking the Flame, which was the prologue, Blazing a Trail, Night of Fires, and The Sacrifice.
I like how Ellen Keels asked us not to destroy our ship, and we destroy our ship straight off the bat.
Wait.
That was funny.
Does her ship
Destroy
get?
your ship?
No, we just
No.
land.
You
I
get an
didn't
achievement.
land.
You get an achievement for not destroying her ship.
I just glided off.
How did you crash it?
Well, I think
He's just playing a completely different game. We just found out.
If you stand there, it just lands. But
Yeah.
glide off, you get the achievement, which I didn't do the first time.
Wait, you get what achievement?
There's an achievement if you glide off early,
Yeah.
and you land, you get an achievement for. I thought it was not for crashing your ship.
No, that happens regardless. That's just kind of a freebie. That's
Yeah.
No, I didn't get it the first time. The second time I played around, I got it,
Huh.
which is weird.
I'd almost blame that on a bug then, but that's me.
Interesting. Yeah, because I didn't
The-
glide off, but I got the achievement for sure.
Though I think what they're talking about is kind of the opening cutscene, which first off I think is amazing. Like when you are actually going to the Crystal
Like
Desert.
flying over everything. Yeah.
Yeah, really cool to see those landscapes, the ocean and the storms and stuff.
But go
Going
ahead.
through it,
Look at the pollution the airship puts out. Man, that can't be good bacteria.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about. I'm gonna bring this up later because it'll be more convenient later.
Okay.
But actually, when you get there, when you land, there's already like trouble in a village before a moon oasis, and you get introduced to that Herald of Balthazar. And at first, I thought it was the character that was in the trailer with all the fire around her and stuff like that. I think it was, but they just changed her look.
Oh, maybe. Maybe
I wasn't too sure about that, but
I didn't see any like nod to it being her, but
My only problem was, and this happens like later on, was when you're finding scrolls that are from the Herald towards other people.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know who the Herald was,
yeah.
because there are hints that the Herald is someone, especially in the end of the sacrifice, where after you kill the Herald, her last words are, "Kill my God," and it's just one of those points where we're like, that got a little dark right there, which I liked. Like, it was better storytelling through shorter dialogue, and it had a lot of impact, and I liked that. That made me want to know who the Herald was.
Yeah, like chat saying, I saw some people speculating it might be Devona from Guild Wars 1, which, I mean, some things match up. If it is someone that is like actually still lives, that would be great, because I think it talks about like something about their father or something, but like almost like you going to be like go tell like maybe like a side story if they're still gonna do those. I don't know.
yeah.
Go see them, like go see their family and be like, hey, this happened. Sorry.
You were going to say something, Inks?
Well, I was going to say, it could match up to be Devana. We know that we know the way that Balthazar makes his minions is a combination of the way that the Forgotten made the Exalted, by taking lost souls and fusing it with this magic armor. So it's possible. I mean, it would fit, I guess. There was a whole Reddit thread on, I guess, the hints and the similarities and stuff. So it would be cool if they confirmed that somewhere, perhaps. But I think part of the excitement is sort of the chase, the mystery behind it.
Maybe it's E.
No.
So what did you guys think about like the epilogue or the prologue itself?
Just the setup before you leave, or
Yeah, before you get on the airship.
I thought it was pretty cool, like the chit chat.
I'm okay with, yeah.
It's interesting. Matthew Medina tweeted out that there used to be a much longer part in the prologue where you checked in with your different cities, and you checked in with different like people and groups and stuff. But it ended up getting cut. The feedback was that it sort of dragged that process out too much, and
Yeah, I could see that. Players kind of just want to, get started, as it were.
get into the desert.
Yeah, so I guess the prologue was just pretty much setting up just the story again, just giving you a bit of a reminder what's going on, and if they added the extra bits, it'd be cool optional stuff, I guess, but I think players generally just want to get started into like hunting down Balthazar type of bit. So
Yeah, I can agree with that. And I don't know, like going through all the cities, that would be that's a lot of walking around for an epilogue, or not an epilogue, a prologue. Like normally if you read a book, a prologue is 1 or 2 pages. It talks about either it's a brief period of time, or it's this is what happened over thousands of years, and it's like a history recap, effectively.
Yeah. There was a nice moment with Keel talking about Timey the narcissist that I really enjoyed, obviously, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
she's so adorable.
Because any discussion about Timey is your favorite, right, Inks?
Actually, I didn't really find Timey quite as bad with Path of Fire. I think they utilized her in a much better way.
It wasn't
seeing her at all.
It wasn't Timey ex machina all the time.
Yeah. It's funny because, like, I feel like we still look to her far too much for answers, but she's kind of like our answer person. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, she's the brains of the group. So,
but she doesn't show up and ruin anything or circumvent the work you did or anything like that. So it's a big positive.
Yeah. Let's see.
So what choice? So you go through, you get your Raptor mount, which is really, we've all played. I think most of us played that in the demo, except maybe Jim. You didn't play the demo, did you?
I did. I played that demo.
I didn't play the demo.
Age didn't play the demo. So what did you? Since that was your first time, what did you think of that instance where you get the Raptor then, the first time?
Oh, so like putting out the fires and getting the Raptor and stuff?
Yeah, as opposed to say how Heart of Thorn sort of started.
Oh, yeah, it was kind of interesting at first because when I was going through that was like the very first time. So, after like killing off those pups, I guess, you have to rescue all the villagers and you had to put out the fires with a random fire extinguisher, and you gain access to the trained raptors, which I was like, okay, so I just grab any one of these and I just go, right? So, but no, it's like you have to actually go through and complete the heart in order to actually get the mount first to unlock it. And at first I thought the movement was kind of weird because it kind of, I guess it's because of my keybinds, but it kind of just, when I tried to turn, it was like overturning at some points. I had to get used to that. But overall, it felt really good to go through and trying to get through the different jumps and then analyzing, oh, I need probably something more for this mount with masteries to get to this point, things like that. So I found them really cool at the very beginning, just a little hard to get the turns down. But
and I also think Ada brings up the next big point with Act 1.
Yeah, because
your choice.
Yeah, kind of once you get into the city, then your next step is to help because if you haven't played through the story, of course, you get met by Casimir and Ritlock, who've kind of already been there. I think Keel actually alludes to like they sent down people ahead of time or something like that.
Envoys, yeah.
Yeah, so you're already well known enough that you don't have to go around and be like, well, we don't know who you are. Maybe go fix like some of the merchants' problems and then come talk. They're like, you go straight to the council, talk with type of thing, which I think was good on their part. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, one of the choices you have is to basically, do you want to keep Amnun neutral, like a city for all, back the Sun Spears and the goddess Cormyr, or ally yourself with Joko and his army?
Mordant Crescent.
Yeah. And that's
I
your
would
big
neutral.
3 options. Yeah, I was gonna say, what was your
Or
everybody's
Sun
first
Spears.
choice? Sun Spears.
Well, I would kind of find it odd that anyone would side with the Mordant Crescent because, historically speaking, just going through the commander's experience with Undead, that doesn't really seem like much of an option to me, but I went Sun Spears.
I mean, you could
I'm
think of
going
it
to
this.
find it.
You could think of it
Oh,
this
go ahead.
way, like, well, I've crushed enough undead. I'll have these guys as allies, and when I'm done with them, I will crush them like the rest. I did
the appeal for Joko was that he had an army that could actually fight the Forged. And
Right.
Yeah.
And I also do like, I'm assuming that you get a unique back piece because I got a Sun Spears back piece.
yeah, each
So-
one gives you a different back piece.
And like Age, I went neutral as well. So
Yeah. The reason behind that for me is that I felt like Joko's army, you'd be indebted to Joko, and I didn't want that for the city. I really RP'd it, but and for the Sun Spheres, if you allied with the Sun Spheres, that might anger Joko, and that might cause problems in that case. So I figured if I stayed neutral and I was the one actually defending the city, then it would work out. So we could bolster defenses and things like that. Kind of have that moment where you're like helping fortify the city and things like that. So that was my reasoning.
oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that depending on what you pick, there is a slight dialogue variation with Casimir. If you
Yeah.
pick Sun Spears, she praises you and thanks for making that choice, Commander, and blah, blah, blah. And when you don't make that choice, she is sort of disappointed in your
Yeah, because I
decision.
think you can talk with like some of the council people and also Casimir and Ritlock, and Casimir's definitely on the side with the gods and the Sun Spears, and I think Ritlock was just like, I think he might have been like stay neutral,
Yeah, he
and
was
then the
staying
council
neutral.
members had one of each of like, you
Yeah.
know.
And one guy who didn't want to make any decision.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
But my reasoning behind it was, first off, I tried to be the reincarnation of Abaddon. Would have been awkward to side with Cormyr. I mean, that's just. So I was like, that's just out of the question.
Considering the outfit you've got on your character right now, yeah, that'd be kind of awkward.
Yeah, you know, it's like she took my job. You know, it's just mean. But also, it's like I'm a Norn. The army showed up when the Norn came. Like, you're good. Stay neutral.
Yeah. And then from there, you had to actually talk with different NPCs when you're gathering information. And I kind of enjoyed my interaction with Zalambor, I think his name was. The guy who owned the
Zalambor.
casino.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was the most interesting out of those information gathering moments.
I did Zalambora before I went to the council. So
I think I
that,
did too. Yeah.
that sets up like doesn't really change things necessarily, I don't think, but it gives you a little more insight into the Mordant Crescent and obviously what's going on there.
Yeah.
All right.
I like Zalambor as a character though. Pretty good, pretty well
Especially
written.
because I
pretty
think
well
he was
voiced.
meeting with like, was it in this time when he was meeting with
Consortium and Black Lion.
Yeah.
merchant, or
Mhm.
you know, trying to, I guess, work deals, and he's like, nah, get out of here. Like, so that'd be
Yeah.
interesting if that somehow plays a role. Maybe World v World is going to change instead of having servers, you're going to pick. Do you want to be with Zalambor? Do you want to be with the consortium, or do you want to be with wow.
The Black Lion Trading Company.
Yeah, I was trying to think of the guy, Nashblade. That's it.
Hmm.
There we go. We got our 3 factions.
I know Zelmbor has all those casino coins I can buy stuff with.
Yeah, yeah,
I'd like those casino coins to be something not an item in my inventory.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you can consume them for karma, is it?
I don't care. I want them to not be an item in my inventory.
And
Whoa, relax.
We're all friends
And-
here.
I mean, there's an easy way to circumvent that. They could just put it into the wallet, and then if you want to sell your coins for karma, and that system actually probably works better because you might accidentally click coins right now, which would suck. But
Yep.
yeah. So after that step, you decide to split up. Casimir decides to go do her own thing because she needs religion, and you have to go scout out some camps,
yeah,
which is sort of like the open world part of Act 1, right? Or at least one of the open world parts of Act 1.
I actually enjoyed that segment where you actually like find that forge camp and go in there and kind of have to kill those sentries before they alert things, and that forge boss at the end there. That was the very first encounter I was saying, oh, this is going to be really awesome, because that encounter was really solid. It had decent mechanics that weren't too hard, weren't that easy, but and you had a whole bunch of forge still coming in as well while you're trying to burn this thing down. It was a really fun encounter for me.
That and the fact that they had the indicator over the sentries so that you didn't have to try and pick someone out through an entire crowd.
Yeah, which one is going to alert? And yeah, the last camp was before that. So was like the War Beast parts, well, some of the armor and stuff in general.
Yeah,
There's too many camps. Then you get to the big camp that Age is talking about that has some extra lore and some papers and stuff. And that's where
you find the scrolls from the heralds, I think.
yeah, they're sort of incomplete and whatever.
I totally skipped over the Blast camp. That's actually find out that Gleam is Blast.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
They say that the heralds called him Gleam, but that his name is Vlast, and that he's sort of flying around the desert here and there and
Saving people.
helping get rid of the problems.
That was really cool.
Which was kind of an exciting moment because that's when it confirmed that Gleam was going to be in the story. Like the trailer, you could see a dragon, so I sort of assumed. So I think a lot of us sort of assumed, but that was sort of like the first confirmation.
Yeah. And then from there,
The next big point was the sacrifice, like the actual fight there.
Yeah, I was gonna say the last one was basically the sacrifice, which I have the cutscenes from that. I mean, do we want to have like basically when you're working your way up and you first fight the Herald, and it was kind of like what even Jim was saying in the research in her notes, but also at the end when you actually fight her at the end, she's like, "Go defeat my god!" Like it's like whoa, like she's not even a fan of him. Like what a jerk.
Well, when she doesn't have a choice.
Yeah. So then you go fight Balthazar for a little bit, and if you were playing at launch and it didn't bug on you, it would go to a cutscene which would look something like this, where he kind of starts marching towards you, and he's ready to finish you off with a mighty blast, and then out of nowhere, boom, blast. He takes the shot for you. He takes the hit. At what cost, though? At what cost?
Man, so sad.
Before we talk about Blast a little bit, I think the Herald died too early, in my opinion. I think in Act 2, which we'll talk about later when we're inside the Glint's lair, I think that's where we should have fought her and killed her.
I think they should have been like a bigger separate fight.
I
mean, she was like the leader of his armies, right?
Yeah, it would have been.
She loses really early.
Much better. Yeah, it would have been much better for the story, I feel like, in my opinion. But it is what it is.
I mean, it almost shows that he doesn't care about them, even though this is a higher up person of him. Like they're just a means to his ends. Like he probably really didn't care that, his kind of second in command type thing just died. It's like, all right, oh well, who wants a promotion? Like,
Yeah.
Well, he can always make another one.
exactly. I think that kind of shows to his, heartlessness.
Hmm.
That, and I kind of understand Mac's point that if you only just learned who Vlast was, like really minutes beforehand, I don't think. I think the primary issue there is that the reason Vlast did it, I think he had similar precognitive abilities that Glint had. So it's one of those moments where I think that's an assumption that our characters make. So do we care? Yes, because clearly Vlast did this for a reason. Why would Vlast care to save us when he just has literally been swooping around, killing Forged, and leaving and not even talking to people?
He knows that we are Arene's champion. That's why he saves us.
So, and then you find that out a little bit more later that he has a kind of connection with Aurene. So it kind of makes a little bit more sense later.
I think in the long run of the story, the way that they dealt with Vlast really worked out. I think it really works out really well. When this happened, when this episode happened, I was really, like, don't get me wrong, I was excited because I think it's an awesome cutscene. I think what happens afterwards and the gathering of Vlast's crystals, I loved every second of that. But I was really super disappointed that Vlast was dead so soon.
Yeah.
Because just the mention of him in the episode before, I got really excited. Like, what is the dialogue going to be like? How is he going to help us? What secrets are we going to uncover? Are him and Aurene going to have the brother-sister moment, which I thought would have been really cool, and so on. And then he's just killed like that so fast, so quickly. As I was approaching it, you sort of see Vlast jump up, and then Balthazar tries to hit him, and he jumps away. And I'm like, I'm coming, Vlast. I'm going to save you. And then this happens.
Yeah, I think even in my first playthrough, I'm watching it, and that happens. I'm like, well, that was short-lived.
Well, I think that's actually kind of the point, because wouldn't that be exactly what the commander would feel? Like, we get to talk to Glint's first scion, who clearly would have more information about the area, and what with the assumption of precognitive abilities would know more about what we might need to do. So that feeling of like, what the hell, man, is probably something similar to what we as the commander would have technically felt. That and Mac's point about having a moment to actually connect with Vlast, I don't think that would have even happened when we learn more about Vlast's personality farther on in. Like, I don't think Vlast wanted to connect with anyone. So I don't think that could have ever been a possibility.
Right. Ironically, yeah, he did seem jaded.
It's tough, right? Because there's a big part of me that wanted more time with Vlast, that wanted a couple of different moments with him. But, once you search out all the crystals, and then in Act 2, there's another instance where you learn a lot more about Vlast as well. I think at the end, it really does work out. It gives you a different feeling. Like, this might not, for some people, give the same emotional response that you want from something like this. But I think at the end, it gives you an understanding and a different emotional response.
Which, I mean, I guess we can kind of show it. Oh, go ahead.
It sort of deepens the sadness for who Vlast was.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think what you're referencing, it's actually part of the sacrifice when you go collect his memory crystals. While this is a little bit out of order, this kind of connects with the two. I also got you can read the dialogue chat bubbles, but if you collect all of them, you actually get an item that will let you replay all the things. But it's
a problem with that particular quest is that I didn't realize I was walking towards the end of the story chapter
of Act 1.
I didn't realize of after collecting the crystals, you know how you don't have to collect all of them, you just get a couple of them to get a good idea where you need to go, and then you can go finish it. I walked towards that point, and there's no, hey, you still have crystals to collect, are you sure you want to finish this right now? Like, there's no prompt that says, hey, do you want to do this? And that super disappointed me.
Yeah, that was the other
So-
thing that Chad is bringing up. I noticed that because when I was making this portion, I noticed that they're tradable, and yeah, apparently Last
Yeah.
Crystal is up on the trading post for 3 copper, I guess currently. But it's weird that that's a tradable. I think that might have been a bug. I feel like.
Yeah, probably not intended. I can't. At 3 copper is such a joke, right?
Yeah.
Like, who is selling it for 3 copper? Is this just somebody who wants to get any penny they can for any item in the game?
I kind of have to agree with Hat's point, though, as another book to take up more inventory space.
Yeah.
I want a library in my
Sure.
home instance.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I totally get that, right? And there's a lot of books. There's a lot of books, which I love. I just wish there was a place to store them. But I loved this instance. I really did. And even sort of after the sacrifice, where you go and you collect all the crystals and you learn more about Vlast as a character, it's just lore, right? It's just more lore. Just feed it to me. I couldn't get enough of it. I really took my time with this. You know, I didn't rush through anything. I listened to each one, tried to digest it as I went along. And I was super sad that I didn't get to spend more time with Vlast even after I got the crystals. But really good instance. I really liked it.
Yeah, when you get the crystals, and it's like I agree. It's like I would have loved more time with them, and it just that's like I think he even says in there like my champion never came, but from seeing yours, but you know, it's like, is that going to be something like? Are we going to possibly have to track down their champion? Like where were you, man? Like, but
It was E.
it was E. Oh my god. No.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the other big reveal, and that's
Yeah.
Gridlock's journey into the mists.
Yeah,
Because
I had
Balthazar
the
calls him a
cutscene.
friend. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to kill you and you, but you're okay, Ritlock. You're my friend.
Yeah, we
And
finally
you're
find
like,
out where
friend?
Whitlock
What the hell
did.
does that mean? Yeah.
Oh yeah, that. Oh my god, when he says "I'll spare you, friend," I was like I wanted my character just to turn around and be like, "Dove F? Did he just say?" Like what?
Me too. That's exactly what I was thinking. It's like, oh man, am I gonna get betrayed right here now? It's like this is not good.
No, to be fair, if I was like that in real life, I'm like, oh, so he's not gonna let you die, friend? Okay, you get in front of me, human shield, like.
Singed fur doesn't smell good.
Living is a lot better, but yeah, it's so apparently, yeah, while Ritlock was in the mist chasing his sword in season 2, he found it extinguished, and there was a chained up person in the mist, and if you can probably kind of see it if you're watching the thing right now, but the person says if he can help him reignite the sword, and I think after he does that, Ritlock decides to free him. And as Ritlock leaves through the mist portal, it stays open just a little too long. And it's actually Balthazar, and Balthazar comes back to the world.
Released on Tyria.
There's one point I'd like to make. I'll make it now. Later on, we actually have a conversation with Cormier about this, and she blames Ritlock for like freeing Balthazar. I'm like, okay, but you chained him in like this open area where apparently anyone has access to. Like,
Well, he was
anybody
in the
that has
mist,
access
not
to a mist
anyone.
portal.
you could put like a couple sentries here and there saying, hey, this is Balthazar. We don't want him released because of reasons.
A sign or something around his
Back
neck.
away.
Fallen God, do not feed.
Like something, anything. It's like I mean, I can't really blame.
My only thought is, considering what Sohathan is, it is a fiery sword that has seen countless battles. Balthazar still had clearly some power despite his state. When Sohathan entered the mists, I'm going to assume that he somehow forced Sohathan to come to him as a setup, because I'm going to assume, via godly powers, he knows what Sohathan is and who has wielded it. knowing that Ritlock immediately followed it into the mists, that's going to come. He's going to come to me eventually, and I'll reignite the blade if he breaks me out.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I totally agree with that. But why is it that Balthazar is so easy to access?
He's
Even
not.
if-
It's the mists.
I mean, he's in the mist. The same was for Doom and Guild Wars 1 and Abaddon. I mean, he was chained up in the mist because
Doom, I had to do-
the gods can't kill another god, it seems like, for, you know.
I'm not
I-
saying kill him. I'm just saying, like,
Add guards.
he's not in the... Yeah, like, in order for me to get to Doom, I had to go through, like, 7 different trials in order to fight Doom. Like,
There's also another interesting question to be asked, I think, from Act 2 when you learn more about Balthazar and why he was chained up, is that was their plan just to leave him there forever, unsupervised?
Well, they can't kill him.
Right, but is this really a good
Unsupervised.
solution? Well, so spoilers: the gods left; they're gone from Tyria, from the mists, right? And Balthazar is just sitting in the mists. So it kind of seems like they have no way really to, like it makes you believe, at least from the conversations that you're having, that the gods are not coming back ever again. They're gone forever. Totally gone this time. Not fakesy gone, but totally gone.
Oh, thanks.
And so that they just leave Balthazar, a fallen god. Sorry for the background noise, but they
Giving
Clearly,
him time
you
to
need to
sit
start
there and think
betting.
about what he does.
You need to start betting on those drag races outside your house.
So, they're just going to leave him there and then totally double Exodus themselves. Like, it never occurred to them, well, maybe what if he does get free? Like, I don't know. It just seems like a really terrible way to deal with this problem.
The other thing is, like, I have a feeling that, like, Sohathan is one of those things where that was one of the few things that could actually be used to break Balthazar out. So it's kind of one of those confluence of fates kind of deals where,
Well,
I mean, Balthazar being immortal could have just sat there and waited for anybody to throw some kind of weapon into the mists that he could reignite to use to break him out. Or anything. Like, he's patient. He can wait. It's a long campaign. I'll deal with it.
I mean, I have a theory, but that leads into like what we have later of it. Of it kind of goes back to what you're saying of he wanted that sword to be there type thing, but I guess I can. Well,
Oh my god.
what?
Sorry, no, what Barry just said is they should have just tied him up in one of the dungeons in Guild Wars 2.
Nobody would have found him. Yeah.
oh, it feels bad.
But anyway, the sacrifice I thought was a great story, and after that we move into Act 2 then, right? So when Act 2 starts.
Yep. We get the memory crystal, and then they tell us to go into the last known location of where Glint's lair was, but yeah. So, what are your guys' thoughts on? I think it was Crystalline Memories, which was
Yeah. This instance is where I think the Herald of Balthazar should have died. It's because there's that spear that Vlas was talking about that could have the
blood spear.
To the potential to kill Krakatork. I'm like, oh, and you're at this point where it's like destroy the spear. It's like, oh, okay, so we're gonna have like Forge come and stop me, right? And they have like probably this time. And it's like, no, I just straight up destroy the spear. I'm like, oh, well, that was okay. So in that instance, it would have been perfect if the Herald of Balthazar showed up with some Forge and be like, hey, I'm here for the spear. You're not gonna stop me. And then we had like a time limit, a reasonable time limit, so that like normal players can actually do it. But and then we take out the Herald of Balthazar there, and then we destroy the spear. It would have, I think, it had a much better impact in that part of the story.
Especially if it would have been like the herald picks up the spear and tries to kill you with it, and then that's like the phase 2 of the fight.
Yeah, something like that.
I was kind of wondering what would happen if you just kind of stood there and didn't touch the spear.
Mhm.
But-
Nothing. The instance doesn't end.
Yeah. Like
But it's funny though, because I kind of agree with Ritlock. Like, I know that we can't kill elder dragons because bad things. You know, we've already killed 2. That's too many. You know, but he's like, I just want to go on the record and say this is a bad idea, and I'm like, I agree, Ritlock. This is a terrible idea. Breaking the spear that we know can kill, that can kill Kralkatorrik. I mean, it turns out there's other ways to kill Kralkatorrik, but still, not something I would have done. And I know you can't kill the dragon because the Tyria will explode, but I don't know.
Though,
Seems like a-
do you guys like the little nod to, I guess, the books itself and, like, you know, the past history of there was the golem
Yeah.
in there
I-
that was ended up being Snaff's.
There was a point in time where we were walking around, and then Krista was just like, "Oh no," because we saw like broken Golem sitting in there, and she's just like, "I know whose Golem that is."
Yeah, it's when I saw it, I was like, oh man. Then I thought, since it was kind of like memories and visions, I thought somehow they were gonna like have a vision of him there or something. But yeah,
There should have been this is a bit morbid. There should have been a little. Well, maybe Jizoja keeps them up. I don't remember. So, for those who don't know, in the books, apparently it's the Asura right for cremation. So in the book, Snaff dies inside the golem that you see, which should have been a little bit more torn up, and it was supposed to have a giant Snaff head, I think. But anyway, she incinerates him inside the golem. So I don't know. It was a super awesome callback. I love seeing like the Snaff callback, which is interesting that it was inside Glint's lair. It means that some Vlast, I guess, must have brought it inside because that's not its final resting place, right? I assume maybe he collected it up, or maybe the Zephyrite collected it up and put it there. You know, who knows? But yeah, really cool callback. Pretty interesting. I liked it.
ooh, do you think Snaff is still inside the dragon's mind? That'd be interesting. If
I've heard that before. Is he trapped? Is he somehow trapped inside Kralkatorrik's mind?
he's piloting a dragon.
So again, for those who don't know, Snaff created this. You think Timey is good? Snaff was way better. Snaff created this device, this mind meld device, where he could get inside the mind of creatures. And so the goal was to have Snaff sitting in the center, and to have Rest of Destiny's Edge guarding the lanes to him that Kralkatorrik was going to send minions to. And it was Glint's job to get the other device onto Kralkatorrik's head, or maybe it was his neck. It was like a yoke kind of thing. And in doing so, then Snaff could access his mind and wrestle the dragon to the ground. And then Ritlock was supposed to take the spear and kill him. Unfortunately, of course, we know what happens is Logan runs off to save his queen, who is under attack from Kralkatorrik's minions and cornered in a keep. And now there's not enough people to defend the lanes properly. And so the creatures break through. Glint does get the yoke or whatever, the cowl on Kralkatorrik's head, but it costs her her life. He kills her. And that does bring him down. So Snaff gets control of his mind, and there's a huge mind battle where Snaff almost loses his own mind, brings Kralkatorrik to the ground, and just as that happens, Kralkatorrik's minions rip into the golem and kill Snaff. Ritlock runs out to kill him, but Kralkatorrik rolls back over, leaps into the air, and the spear bounces off his shoulder blade. Doesn't hurt him. And so that's sort of the end of that battle, or the end of the book, more or less. That's sort of the story that goes along with that. And I don't know how players feel who never read the books or who don't know those stories necessarily. For me, it really enhances it because I know the story. But sort of a nice breadcrumb and a nice callback.
No, I was thinking when when we were saying like is Snaf like maybe still in Kralkatorg. I think that would
Right,
be
so the
amazing if they somehow revealed it, like the way like if like down the road like Timey's there like trying to spout off how she knows everything, and then you just hear like a rumbling voice like progeny, like, and it's like, wait, what? Why? How does he know that word? Oh my god, it's Snaf. Sorry, that would
what's
be
really
amazing.
interesting about that too is there's actually precedent for that within the Guild Wars 2 universe. A mind being trapped within a mind, and there is also the possibility that you could somehow extract Snaf into a golem itself. There's an Asura story step that that's one of the projects that they're working on, where they, an Asura's mind is trapped in a golem's body. So who knows? I mean, I think that would be awesome. Sort of bring Snaf's character back a little bit or something, or at least temporarily back.
Yeah, that would be
That would
pretty
be
cool.
interesting.
Kralkatorg, the first revenant.
Yeah. That comes later.
But yeah, any other thoughts on the crystalline memories? Let's move on to hallowed ground. So the kind of the next part that you have to go to is going to the tomb of primeval kings. Yee! And basically kind of going to past basically the dynasty of the the primeval dynasty, and convincing all of them to what does it tell you more about the myths and stuff like that, and how to access it, and of course along the way they don't want to help you, and then one by one you aggressively convince them.
Submit.
Yeah. That's basically it. But yeah, how did you guys like that story portion, and how were the fights?
I kind of like the concept of the fights. I'm kind of curious as to how I'm supposed to tell which one is the real one. I didn't have a chance to look that up.
I was going to say I have an answer because somebody else told me, but I didn't know at first.
Please tell us.
So apparently there is a color hue differentiation that you might be able to tell, but the first time around, the portrait of the real one has a necklace on, as an amulet, and the second time around, it has something else. It has a different mask than the others. You can also tell too because the real one is using a different weapon. Apparently the right one is more highlighted. Now, with my graphic settings, I couldn't tell which is highlighted and which isn't, but the real one is also, I think, using a staff or something like that in the second one. There's a whole guide and ways to tell and stuff. That didn't occur to me when I first played it, obviously, but yeah. There are ways to tell, apparently.
The way I was able to tell is that I was looking at which one was attacking oddly, kind of like how mesmers do, and then I was looking at their boon bars, and I think I noticed one of them had something odd, so I attacked that one. It was the right one. I'm not sure if that counts, but those are the only ways I could tell. They all looked relatively the same, and I was trying to find it quickly before I got dead. So, yeah,
Fair enough.
Yeah, I liked going back to the area. It was kind of cool to like hear some of the history of like the primeval dynasty, and definitely it was a nice background filler for people that come from Guild Wars 1. But
Now the important part.
yeah. Next up, we go to the Facing the Truth. So, you basically, when you complete that one, you unlock a portal to the Mists, go into the Mists, and first off, I think you start alone, like I guess everybody got separated, but you find Ritlock and Casimir. It's kind of standing there, looking at this big, I think it's a Sunspear logo type thing. Like, I guess this is like Cormier's symbol. I think you can see it in like some of her churches and stuff like that. But yeah, so you have to do a couple things there, like challenge her ghost there to get things to put into it, and basically a lot of stuff like around like this little bit of a map to get in, and there's a little bit of platforming, I think.
Piece.
Yeah. And basically once you get into there, then it opens up to a giant library of, and I don't know if this is, if they have like the official, like an official name for it, but basically it's like basically Cormier's library of like all these secrets and stories, and basically I think her followers were collecting stuff to put into this library of knowledge. And but yeah, how did you guys enjoy that one?
I think the first thing Krista said is, "Can I have this as a guild hall?"
Yeah.
The library was pretty nice.
Yeah, like I want the library as a guild hall, but I definitely like the fact that they played off of the fact that she still remembers being mortal. That's the reason she stayed as long as she did. So, and her staying as long as she did means that we were kind of given insight into what the hell was going on and what we kind of needed to do to stop it. And also more understanding in why the gods had to leave Tyria, which makes sense because they're entities that contain a great deal of magic, and the dragons eat magic. And then they talk later on that the cycle of the dragons leaking magic and then consuming magic would eventually rip Tyria apart. Them being there would literally just cause more of a problem. So they had to leave.
Yeah.
So I kind of like the fact that we got a lot more explanation as to why the situation was the way it was.
Well, I'll definitely argue that in the next portion when they talk about other things, because yeah, these gods, they're so evil.
Is it Abaddon related?
Of course it's Abaddon related. He was the only good one. Chat's also saying they thought it was Abaddon's library that Cormier just had taken over. I could definitely see that. I mean, he did keep all the secrets, but
if you jump in the water, there are Abaddon tentacles under the water.
okay,
Yeah.
so it was taken over by her. But I think at the time she was having those people collect and organize all the secrets. Is what I was trying to. Did we dance? No, is that a thing?
No, I didn't dance. Was that a hidden
Did the
achievement?
spirits dance too?
That's pretty
Pretty
funny.
awesome.
I really love the library. I wish there was more books. Now, there's a lot of books when you find Cormier's secret stash or secret library room, and that's really cool. But the library itself feels a little book lightish.
Seeing the number of books in there?
Well, it's not so much the visual of there's all these books. It's, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I felt like it was a little bit book light. A couple more would have been kind of nice. The books outside of the library. Yeah, the Priory I felt like had more books to read.
Chat's saying go back after she
to
leaves.
read,
I did run around after she left and did the achievement. Is that what you guys are referring to?
I think they're
mean,
referring to the Griffon thing. I think you.
well, I know you go in
back
there.
for that.
Yeah, I know you go back there for that. It's just I haven't gotten there yet. But
Yeah,
I know
me
Chat
neither.
was saying earlier that you could. Yeah, they're saying. I'm very confused. Can you get there without doing the story? Because I stayed after she left and did the achievement for the books. And
Yeah, I
I mean,
don't know.
there's a good size amount of books there to read and all that stuff, but not as many as the stacks are.
Who just randomly dances after the instance?
That's cool.
Anyway.
Maybe they were
There's
happy.
also a cool
She's
thing-
gone. She's gone. No, no, no. Sorry.
There was a cool thing with. I kind of wish that we got to see some of the other gods. I'm a little god greedy. Cormier was cool, but I don't want to. And I really love the way that they made her up this time around. Even her statues and stuff were really cool. But I don't know. I get I think I get a little bit confused by the timeline and sort of how some of these things work, what they're trying to really explain to you. There's definitely some foreshadowing and some hidden references I obviously didn't get at the time when I played through it the first time. And, just a really cool instance, really fun. I think they did a great job with Cormier. I like the voice actress. Just a great instance.
Once again, dressed as Abaddon, it's pretty awkward. But yeah, I did notice there was a permanent blind skill, and the effect was Cormier. Like, and I think you even see it like on the screen. Like, I was like, that's a nice touch. I didn't know if it was a reference to Cormier herself, or you are now looking upon a god, which can do that. You know, we've talked about in the past of possibly blinding you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I thought it was a nice touch. That would be interesting to go after the gods at some point, but I think like what Inks was saying before, it was kind of like how they were just like, okay, we're leaving now, bye. There's nothing more we can do. Like,
right. So there's a whole bit of dialogue there where, so the gods leave, but they leave to their realms, to the mists, and they have a little bit of contact with people, but not necessarily a whole ton. And then Cormier ascends to godhood, and I don't know. Then they left again. Kind of, it seems like they kind of left again kind of recently, but obviously not until they put Balthazar in his place, which they don't really talk about and how that really happens.
I think that the point is they withdrew from the world. Like, they talked about the gods went silent earlier on in like base Guild Wars 2, and then they decided we can't stay, so we need to just up and leave, like completely leave all of Tyria and just peace out, because we're gonna cause shit to blow up with the dragons around. So I think that them leaving was them cutting ties with all of their churches, effectively, their priesthoods and all that, and then they were going to be withdrawing from that, and that's probably when Balthazar got locked up, because he's like, no, screw you, I'm not gonna deal with this. And then they chained him up, and then one by one they got their affairs in order and left. And Cormier stayed the longest because it's Cormier.
though I think like what Chad was saying is they in Guild Wars 1 they whispered something. They told her advice. Maybe they were telling her that, you know, she was going to take the power and kind of.
Well, that can't be totally true, because it's her free will that allows her to take on Abaddon's power. Like, that has to be a choice made by free will. So it's not like they can say, hey, Cormier, you need to jump in the fire. Jump in the ball of light. You're good to go. Yeah, I don't know. The gods are very weird, right? They bring humans to Tyria, but then they're not really willing to help save them. It's like, you guys got this. You're good. Go ahead. We got other things to do.
Well,
see you later.
QED does kind of bring up a point, is they really had no choice. It was either leave or stay and endanger the entirety of everyone there. I think the point is they know that we can figure out a way to balance the cycle, because that's something that's talked about later on down the line.
Ugh. I mean,
I don't know. I'm conflicted about it. I don't really buy that whole story necessarily, that excuse.
I think
But I
it's
guess I
because
have
the
to buy it,
gods
that's
don't
what
know
they're
and they
saying,
don't want to
but-
give up their power. That's why they had to leave. Because, I mean, literally in the next story, it kind of says that it could have been okay. But,
yeah, I guess. I mean, I
but,
don't know. I felt weird about that part of the instance, about that sort of story with the gods and leaving. Yeah, we can't fight Balthazar because the Crystal Desert would happen again. But if we don't stop Balthazar, he destroys all of Tyria. So I don't know. That kind of seems worse.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the real answer is that the gods don't have an answer for the dragons. They don't know what to do with them, other than they're not getting our magic. So see you later.
Well, I don't think it was. Again, I don't think it was a necessarily entirely selfish reason. It's one of those things where it's like, if they get the magic of a god, they become ridiculously more powerful than their standard cycle was, even before the gods came to Tyria, since the dragons were kind of an they've always been here kind of deal. So,
And
Yeah,
like,
it's interesting, right? Because so you have the Bloodstone, right? Which Balthazar, the white man will crack open. Balthazar consumes the Bloodstone magic, but the Bloodstone magic was there before the gods. It's not part of their reservoir or anything like that, right? That's just Tyrian magic that was bottled up by the seers. Well, I guess technically by the gods, they rebottled it, but I don't know. There's a whole mention of there's only 5 gods now, but she sort of mentions that it was important to have the balance of 6 gods, but that's not important anymore, question mark?
well, no, she says he is no longer one of the 6.
Right, so it's 5, but there was a
that
mention
doesn't
of
necessarily
Abaddon.
mean 5. That could just mean we replaced them, like they
There's an
did
implication
with.
there.
But
Yeah,
I mean,
so
it could mean 5 as
5 or more.
But yeah, it's definitely interesting in their wording of it. But
Time me for a new god.
Her and Arena already are gods. Don't worry about it. Yeah, so they don't really say who the 6th is, or if there even is a 6th. They don't necessarily make that clear. And I don't know that they have. I don't know that they have to make that clear. I'm just.
I mean, and honestly, they're leaving, so it doesn't really matter anymore.
Yeah, unless
They're
it comes up
removing
later
themselves
on
from
in
the
later
equation.
stories. Yeah.
Well, yeah, which would just kind of be weird if they threw them back in. Like, hey, you know how we said they left? They didn't again. Like, yeah. But,
For me, it was a bit of a confusing instance. It was a great instance. I love the lore. Some of the lore implications and stuff with the gods was a little bit confusing for me, I think.
Yeah. The next part of the act was the final part, the way forward, which that takes you basically to the Elon River lands, and you kind of search around the whole map, and eventually this is where you learn your Springer Mount, and you find the forgotten city of Kesho, which this is where Blast was created. They talk about that. But when you get there, there's a lot of powered down Exalted. When you finally power them up, there's one hidden there, and he's like, "Stay away!" And this is when you find out that Joko and Balthazar came through and tried to turn some of these old Exalted into Forged. These were like the first attempts at creating the Forged. So they start to power up, you have to fight them and all that stuff, and then you also, once you fight them, you can use the memory discs to hear more about kind of the city and them working with Vlast.
It's interesting to me that the Forgotten seem to know more than the gods in some respects. They certainly have a plan of attack where the gods
they were here before
really...
the gods.
Were they?
They were one of the 6 that were protected by Glint. They were one of the 6 races protected by Glint. Or 5 races, sorry.
Well, you talk about the Forgotten knowing more, but the other point is we didn't socialize Vlast until he was too old for it. It's like, Glint talked to you. Did you think that Vlast, just because he couldn't communicate, was not an intelligent creature? What the hell?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I was kind of annoyed that the Forgotten kind of...
I thought the gods brought them to Tyria with the humans. Nope. They talk about the 5 races that Glint protected during the last uprising were the Mersat, the Forgotten, the Seers, the Dwarves, and the Jotun. Well, not the Mersat. They betrayed and hid. But yeah, they were the 5 before that with the last uprising, I believe. Unless that was changed somewhere in the new maps that I haven't seen yet, but
I thought the Forgotten were brought by the gods as well, but I don't know if that was actually ever confirmed necessarily. But either way, they clearly seem to have a deeper understanding of, like I said, they had like an attack plan of how do we deal with this. Maybe not, obviously not totally successful, but at least they had sort of a course of action.
Right.
and at the end of this one, they do have a one cinematic which kind of shows the balancing of the magic of Tyria, which this kind of leads back to my argument about the gods and good guy Abaddon.
Okay, so
well,
what's
I mean,
your thought here?
in the thing, they actually say the way to keep it balanced is to share the magic between the points, which are the dragons, or in this case, the gods. And Abaddon, he was the one guy that gave magic to Tyria. He tried so hard, but the gods, they wanted all that magic. They wanted that power, so they pushed him away. I.e., Abaddon was the good guy all along. The other gods were a bunch of jerks. Thank you. Show's over forever. I won.
How long do you guys think he's been waiting to do that?
Yeah.
Since I played it.
So I kind of dig this thought that there needs to be an equilibrium with the magic, or it'll rip the planet apart. That feeds into the whole, we killed who's the first one? I can't remember the name. Zaitan. So the fight's so forgettable, I forgot who the dragon was. We killed Zaitan, then we killed Mordremoth, and everything's going crazy. We've got sad anomalies everywhere, ley lines bursting out of the ground, all that good stuff. Now, the problem is we need to find replacements for these anchor points of magic. But they talk about we need to find creatures that will regulate and share the magic. But the point is the dragons have been, for eons, since the dawn of Tyria, have been absorbing magic, falling into a food coma, leaking magic, and then waking back up to eat again. Which sounds kind of gross if you talk about it like that. Mm. But every time they wake up, it just completely wrecks the planet. So clearly, eventually, this is just all going to go to shit, and it's not going to work. So we need to find benevolent entities that will act more like balancing conduits, not ravenous, lazy lizards. So,
sorry. Now I'm arguing with chat that's trying to bash Abaddon. Because they're saying basically, just because Abaddon gave the humans magic doesn't mean it was right. No, but it was what needed to be done to keep the world okay. Whether it was good or not, I mean, that I think was what started the Guild Wars. I think it's been a while since
well, the control of magic.
There were actual guild wars in this franchise. So
yeah. It's interesting, and the plan was basically to have Glint Scions take over, but there's only 2, and there's 6 dragons.
There's 2 dead.
There's 1 now, and now there's 2 dead dragons out of 6, and the plan is kind of shot in the foot. It'll be interesting to see where we go from here and what the new plan is going to be. I don't know.
Don't worry, Time, you'll figure something out.
Yeah, I'm sure she will. I'm sure she'll clone Aurene. Cloning, boys, it's coming.
Please no.
Ollie the dragon.
And Chad, surely all that means is the dragons just go to the people of magic. Yes, that's the cycle, unfortunately. I mean, I'm sorry that it kills you guys, it kills the people on the planet, but that's the cycle of Tyria, supposedly. I mean, there's no way around it. If you don't do it, they're showing this is what's going to happen. The world's going to fall apart, and then people, aren't going to have anything to live on, which would destroy them as well. Like, I mean, either way, it's not great. Yeah, circle of life.
To be fair, the other elder races did survive. Their societies were kind of just destroyed, but they did survive technically. Enough of them. It wasn't total mass extinction.
No.
But you know, it wasn't good either.
Yeah, yeah. And we also learned that Arene was kind of the crux for darn, I lost it. The crux of
No. Ada, that's not exactly true. The only reason the dragons are here is Abaddon's magic leaked out from not being able to go all into Cormyr. No, that's not true. His magic causes them to stir early, which we then squelch and put down. But it's not like that magic powered up the dragons. The dragons would have powered up on their own anyway, just slower. Yeah. There's suggestions in the lore that the Giganticus lupicus, which was a race on Tyria that is extinct, became extinct because of the dragons. They woke up, they wiped out all those giant races, and then they went back to sleep when they got their magic back. So this is a repeating cycle for the planet of Tyria. Magic, an introduction of a large scale of magic will stir the dragons early, and that's sort of what Scarlet does. She taps the spider web, right? She pops into a ley line and sends a jolt of energy to wake up Mordremoth before he was ready to wake up. So, you know, killing Abaddon stirs Primordius and starts to wake him up a little bit early, but then we put him back to sleep for at least a little while. So, you know, there is some truth there in what you're saying, but that's not exactly how it works with the dragons.
But that's coming from Cormyr, one of the gods that's holding on to power and ditching us. Like, I mean, to be fair, as the goddess of truth, she told us jack squat. She just was like, here's the truth, we're leaving.
She gives us hints and stuff, you know, like the
evil
power and stuff.
I think that's what Cormyr was stating is that they're just awakened faster now because of the magic that was left behind after Cormyr absorbed Abaddon's magic. And it's kind of like it's the very reason why the gods are leaving, because the magic they exude will just make it bad for Tyria in the long run. So that's why they're leaving.
Yeah, it wakes him up early, but it's not the only reason he woke up. He would have woken up anyway. When the dragons get hungry, they wake up when their magic is gone. It's just that large of a magic signature, when he's already low on magic himself, is like, oh, tasty magic. I think I should wake up and consume a little bit of this.
And I kind of figured the dragons would have woken up faster anyway, because the Asura just, oh, hey, there's a giant magic signature coming from over that way. Let's go poke it.
Right, and the entire Asura architecture, their gates are all powered by dragon magic, by Primordius' magic.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't know if that changed or not with Guild Wars 2, but that used to be the lore from Guild Wars 1 was the reason why there's the central transfer chamber right above where, well, at that time they thought this dragon statue. Like,
yeah.
It's completely inert, not going to wake up and kill a Soul Dragon statue.
Yeah,
But
it was basically
without-
because they seeped out, they wake up, consume all the magic, and then they go back to sleep and they seep it out. So basically think of them as filters for magic. Like, they just filter the magic through their body. They're not necessarily evil. They're evil to us because they're gonna possibly kill us, but they're not evil to Tyria.
They're evil in the same way that a tornado is and rips through the environment and destroys everything. You know.
Or, like, not to go down a rabbit hole of, you know, we talk about global warming. It's the end of the earth. It's not the end of the earth. It's the end of humanity.
Right.
But, you know, the earth will be like, oh, I broke that fever. Okay, moving on. Like, that's basically what Tyria is with the dragons. I mean,
You
it's
kill enough
horrible for
dragons,
us.
though, and the magic is unstable. That kills Tyria.
Yes,
That's why
which
the
is-
dragons exist. Their safety valve. What's the next one after Kesho?
That takes us into Act 3, which is the Departing, which that brings up a lot of the stuff like the patch note stuff and. So Act 3 starts with the Departing, and sorry about this. We basically go to. I'm trying to remember now. Sorry, I was so happy about talking about Abaddon, how he was the greatest.
We leave that entry and we go to a spire where we are supposed to have signal to talk to Timey. We tell everyone else to show up there, and we're supposed to have one of Keel's airships show up.
Right, right.
So it's
But
basically a
what
giant.
happens? All of a sudden,
Balthazar.
Abaddon shows up, and oh my god, this
Abaddon.
broke my. Sorry. To be
Get
fair, in
Abaddon
my
on the
video,
brain.
to be fair, in my video he does because I dressed up like him. But no, sorry, Balthazar shows up, and it was kind of a trap for us, and all of a sudden, Aurene appears, and oh my god, I'm watching right now, it's like breaking my heart. Oh.
Yeah.
Basically, it was a trap to get Aurene because, like we've discovered with Vlast, he was trying to use Vlast as a weapon against Kralkatorrik. Well, he still needs a weapon that's attuned to, Kralkatorrik. And it was Vlast. Since Vlast is gone, guess who that leaves?
Yeah.
Poor Aurene.
There's two things here. One, it felt really good to be cut. Like, I was cutting Balthazar like crazy. I was doing so well, and then I just get one-shotted. I'm like, damn, that sucks. I got him to like 20%, and he just, yeah.
Up in Rex,
And yeah, and the second thing is, can someone explain how Aurene got there?
she broke away and dragon magicked herself there.
Is it dragon magic? Because
No, I think she
The
just
dragon
flies.
has magic.
did she fly there? Because like
Yeah.
it took us a while to get to the desert, didn't it?
Right, but even before we go to Kisho or Kesho or however it's said, if you check in with Timey, which there's several conversations between these story steps, by the way, but if you talk to Timey beforehand, she lets you know that Aurene's been flying around the chamber practicing ever since Vlast's death, basically.
Oh, I didn't know that.
She's been acting snippy to her caretakers, and she's been flying around, or she's been attempting to fly around, and so it's clear that she's trying to figure out how things work so that she can break out and come over here. And there's actually something interesting a viewer pointed out to me that I didn't know. But if you die before the Aurene cutscene happens, Balthazar actually will res you up. Because the point of that is not necessarily just to kill you, but it's to bait Aurene out to save her champion.
Oh wow, really?
Connection. That is
Which-
actually
yeah.
clever.
Which he does. So what happens is he cages Aurene finally, and then he kills us because he doesn't need us anymore. We're no longer useful. So he keeps us alive just long enough and hurt to bring Aurene out, which he then captures, and then he kills us because we're no longer needed. He's got his dragon.
Huh.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's really well done.
Yeah, which I
Yeah, I
totally missed the first time. I didn't realize he was baiting Aurene out, but that totally makes sense. And yeah, that's what actually happens there. It's really cool.
Yeah, and like Chat's saying, it also makes sense why he wanted to protect her in Living Story when he was impersonating Lazarus. So, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, basically when that happens, you kind of pass out, and as you can see in this video here, it goes dark screen for a little while, but then you kind of wake up as a ghost, in a who knows what kind of realm you're in. You just kind of just wake up, stand on your feet, but it's basically kind of What was the official name for it? Because it's not. It's I guess it's in the underworld of swords.
It's the
but it's
domain of the lost.
The domain of the lost, and basically, can I just say, this portion, they should just make this the portion for season 1 recap. This was a better recap than the like little cinematic trailer you get. When you wake up, you actually don't have a name. Like, your character doesn't speak or anything. Well, he doesn't. When you see dialogue, it doesn't say your character's name. You have to actually go find your purpose again, type thing. And it kind of reminds me, I don't know if people ever played it or other games like this, but there was a game out there called Legends of Kesme, I believe. I used to watch my brother play it. When you died, basically to get your stats back, you had to go to, I think it was the underworld or hell or whatever they called it, and regain your like organs to become whole again. Like, this was like the penalty thing, and it kind of like very minimally reminded me of this, where you kind of had to regain yourself.
Interesting.
But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on the instance?
I did this as a secondary person, so I was the guardian spirit throughout most of this. Now, playing this instance as the guardian spirit is not great. It's really not a lot of fun. I don't think it's designed well, because you have your 1 and 2 are basically the same things, but 1 gives the instance owner might. It's 1 stack of might. It takes 4.5 seconds to channel it. The stack of might lasts for 3 seconds. 2, the 2 ability puts vulnerability on the target you're targeting. It's 3 seconds, 1 stack of vuln. It takes 4.5 seconds to channel it with a 5-second cooldown on the ability. And the 3 skill drops a little AoE zone that gives 6 seconds of regen to the instance owner, not you.
So you're legitimately a spectator?
Yeah,
That's
kind of a shame.
Honestly,
it's not designed for group play very much.
It's almost worse than playing through with the Shining Blade bit. Like, it wasn't.
Chad, he's referring to if you go in as helping someone with the instance. So, you know, if you have a friend go in and it's their instance, you get these skills. You don't get your own, apparently.
Yeah, when we went through, it was with my wife running all of the instances, and she wanted to run through them because I have a crap ton of other characters I'm going to run through it, and she usually only plays her ranger, and also because she plays a Sylvari female, and listening to Jennifer Hale be snarky is amazing. So there's that. But yeah, the secondary player controls were not fantastic in this mission. So
it's a shame.
Then we can get to the other fun part.
Yeah, and like Chad was talking about, the Eater of Souls. So, you know, once you actually find yourself or a spirit that's trying to reclaim your name or something, claim your name for themselves, you know, get your stuff back. You kind of go through this like catch up of all your past, you know, things you've done, which I thought was a good recap. It might have been, I see Chad was saying they thought it was a kind of boring. I can see it's boring, like if you're kind of like wanting to get through the instance and stuff like that. But I thought it was, like I said, I thought it was a better recap than what we have as a vendor in Lion's Arch. But yeah, the Eater of Souls, up until, and I see Chad's already saying how it got nerfed, up until like a couple days ago, it had some pretty big issues if you went in with multiple people or minions or anything, any allies that had health. It sounded like was one of the big issues, because basically Eater of Souls would do a couple things and then it would have a kind of leeching effect where as it takes damage from you, it's gaining health, which, you know, I've heard a lot of people say like brought the thing back up to like from 25 to 100%, or, you know, a good sized chunk.
When I went through it, it went from about 40% and then back to full. So it's one of like the break bar. Like, honestly, they could have just increased the amount of time that the break bar was available to hit. Like, I know I was playing on my Guardian. The only real hard CC I have is I play Greatsword and Scepter Torch base Guardian. I have Hammer of Justice, and I have Greatsword 5 for hard CC. I would not have been able to hit that break bar even if I had perfect reflexes with the cast times on my abilities.
Yeah, that was the one problem I found with that fight. Other than that, I didn't have any problems with it. But it was people who were running like apparently just like normal-ish builds, and by normal-ish I mean like partial damage, partial like defenses, partial healing, what have you.
Like survivability.
They weren't,
like
they weren't running full damage builds, which I understand. It's perfectly understandable that a normal PvP player would run that type of thing. But I don't think the fight was too hard. I think there were some bugs with it, definitely. I actually asked on Twitter about the fight and, was it necessary to nerf? And I had a whole bunch of mixed opinions. Basically, if you weren't, you could fight it in melee, but the break was again too short. From range, it was no problem. I would imagine, because I did most of it from range. But I think the break bar was a major thing, and some of the bugs with the fight itself. But I don't think it was. I didn't think it warranted a nerf. Just
I mean that and that's the problem. Is I think that's the problem. Is a lot of us didn't experience a lot of the issues that occurred as much as some people, because honestly, when I did it and there's a stream of me first time playing it, I remember Red Wolf was like, "Oh, I can't wait! I'm grabbing my popcorn for this." Like I was like, "Oh, this must be the difficult thing." So I was like ready. That's the only kind of preparation I had, was this is supposedly the difficult fight. I kind of went in there, and afterwards I'm like, I know I'm not that good. Like,
yeah.
But honestly, I was kind of like what the chat was saying. Like after a while, the break bar was so like it just came up for a second. I just was like, well, I'm not gonna waste my time. I didn't even use the break bar after a while. I stayed scepter range for a guardian, which was 900. So honestly, I just ran from him when he did the beam thing, and
that's what
didn't do that much. So
anytime I tried to range, it was an issue. He just went back to full health. Basically, he would beam me and he would do a jump, and even if I dodged the jump or even double dodge the jump, he would just gain full health. I don't know how to explain it.
So it really just sounds like there were just bugs with the fight. So
I don't know, but so I just went melee, and I was on a Revenant, so it was sort of a joke. Now my wife had issues because she generally camps the hell out of Longbow and Ranger, and she could never get its health down. It wasn't necessarily killing her either, though. She just ran in circles for 20 minutes or something. But it would jump to her, and if she missed a dodge, it had full health. If even when she hit a dodge, sometime it would get full health. I don't know. It always got back to full health on her. Yeah. So I told her, I said, look, just switch up, use Greatsword, Sword Axe, and just sit in his face. Here's your rotation. And that was it. She killed it first try. So I don't know.
There was a tweet by Matt Medina saying that the developer who made that encounter, it wasn't supposed to be that difficult, no matter what the situation was, bugs or not. So they actually toned it down in the end. That's the way it is now, is probably what it was supposed to be at launch. So, I mean, either way, it's whatever for me, but.
I mean, unfortunately, and I know some people are upset anytime they nerf the difficulty of something, and depending on what that content is, I'm usually right on board. I don't like things nerfed in difficulty. I like them to stay difficult, but unfortunately, and this is not necessarily a great excuse, but it's story, and story is kind of just.
Have you guys gone back and fought it after that?
It's pretty brain dead.
I haven't yet. I will, honestly, after I do another character.
I did, because I was trying to grab like some of the cutscenes for the show. Honestly, I didn't notice a difference, but like I said, I wasn't one of the ones having that issue, which is the problem. Like I didn't have minions. And I agree with like chat, and I think what we're saying is, I think we're fine with like the minions and the pets not being able to be life siphoned, because it's a lot harder to control them. but like if you have more people in, they have, you know, they're they're intelligent ones. They should be able to, you know, move with it. But I could understand of nerfing the bit, like they can't, you know, life siphon the AI, but you have more
There's
people
also some, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but somebody was saying to me, it might have been just Lent, I don't know if he's here or not, or it might have been somebody else, I can't remember. Apologies if it's not you, Lent. But somebody said, oh, I heard they nerfed Balthazar as well, which I don't think is true. I haven't heard of them nerfing that fight.
I didn't read anything in the patch notes.
And again, like, that can be a long fight, but I don't think it's like...
Which one?
The very end one.
Okay.
I don't think it's necessarily like difficult or anything like that. And even if you do die, like you just respawn right away.
Yeah,
and go back at it. Like
that
I guess if you
doesn't
die
work.
enough, I guess if you die enough, you won't have any armor. But then, I mean, you should just like, I don't know. I hate to see things get nerfed if it doesn't really need it. But at the same time, it's story, so I don't expect it to be that difficult, although I have to say that even the easy fights, like if we go back to the Tomb of Primeval Kings, like those weren't difficult, but I enjoyed the little mechanics of like pulling them through the bomb and stuff like that. So I don't know. The fights, I thought the fights were pretty cool regardless of their power and stuff. I feel like a lot of times the bosses don't really do that much damage to you, but anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I actually have to get going because I have to go take care of dinner, so... Ladies and gentlemen from chat, thank y'all for coming out. I hope to see folks around for 0 to Hero this week, because more Spellbreaker shenanigans. Maybe I'll give another Elite Spec a try. Maybe if Firebrand is still super dumb OP in PvP, I'll give that a shot. So
it's fine. Don't touch it. But yeah, have a good
guys.
Don't worry, we're still gonna be continuing, but I just
Yeah.
we're going to the end.
I really wanted to try the fight again, the Eater of Souls fight, just to see like all the mechanics, because I felt like I just burned through it with, because I think I was full Berserker, maybe 1 or 2 pieces weren't, but I wanted to go back and see like what the issues people were having were.
I was pretty tanky on my well, not pretty tanky on my Guardian, but I think I'm running Seraphs. Mainly Seraphs, which it's not full DPS, of course. But like I said, I just didn't have the issue of minions or anything to worry about. I could imagine that would be, 10 times worse.
Yeah, my wife was a druid as well originally, so her damage output was like, she wasn't Kandi druid, so the damage output was a little weaker, but she just had to switch some traits and stuff around. She managed, I think if I wasn't there to sort of help her with what to switch for what, I think she probably would have had a couple of issues. But, and then you know what? I didn't even use Smoke Scale, which some people said, oh, just use Smoke Scale. It makes the fight trivial. I didn't even think to use that, but that is like another ranger option.
So you can evade more.
Yeah. But I really liked that they killed you for that instance. Loved that they killed us. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed the instance.
That was a good instance.
And then on the way out,
I'll
say on the way out, you kind of have Joko because he makes an offer to you, and then he's like, "This is your last chance. I'll let you, all that stuff." And then we kind of say to him, "It's like, we don't really need you. We just need your army." And like, I think he makes he's like, I know how the Crescent Mord. No, I'm blanking on the like.
Mordrum Crescent.
That's it. That's how they work, or he knows how they work, so he can do it himself or something without them. So,
Yeah.
And it was kind of interesting because he's like, he kind of swears revenge on you, which I hope we see something of him later on. I mean,
oh, we will. Come on, season 4 is Joko's season, the season of Joko.
The season of Joko.
That's fair. Well, if the Krokotork doesn't brand us all to death.
Yeah. Spoiler for what's coming up in the next 2 minutes. Jeez, Sage. Come on, we made it this far.
We're closer to the end. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, next up is the enemy of my enemy. So basically this is when we kind of go through and try to convince
a brew over.
Yeah, try to basically
Guru,
convince
Guru.
all those awakened. I wanted to say
The
ascended, but
generals,
that's
yeah.
basically awakened to be our army. Which you gotta go on I think it's all of this involves the series of missions, right? Where you go to this one and then that one, and so
Yeah.
I know one of the missions you basically control a bunch of awakened soldiers in training, which
That was so much fun.
Yeah. I love that. Actually, both of those instances, but particularly controlling the mummies, was just amazing. Just a lot of fun, you know?
and honestly,
took
this
my
kind
time
of
with
makes me
it,
hopeful of that AI that I was talking about that that helped work. They worked with them on hot and they showed them off, because if you make them ranged, they have that very, very baseline mechanic that they showed off in this like the GDC display of if something gets close to them, they run off before they fight. Like they're permanently mentally on range. Like they gave them a behavior hierarchy, but so
It was just a
looks
really
like
fun
it's the
instance.
fundamentals of that. Hopefully they build upon that. That would be great.
Yeah.
But
I kind of want that to be Necro minion AI, to be honest. I
yeah,
feel like it was really well done.
no, they think too much.
So good. I literally spent like there's an achievement for getting like 15 minions in your army. And I'm like,
yeah.
I didn't stop there. I kept running around trying to get as many as I could.
I ended up getting I think I lost one or two because they died, but I think I got all of them I don't even know how many there were. Over
Well, I think
20.
they respawn after a while, even if they don't die, if I'm not mistaken. Or
Do they?
Yeah.
I know if you go
yeah,
back,
they-
there's
yeah,
some,
they
but I don't know if
respawn.
it's just. That'd be great to, because I think I saw a tweet that apparently if you do /dance, they dance with you. Just get a
I
bunch of them,
totally
just have
missed
a
it.
mosh pit. Yeah, I know. I need to
Yeah.
go back and do it. Like,
I had too much fun because legitimately I could have finished the instance like 5 minutes ago, but I just spent all the time running around laughing maniacally, gathering my army.
Yep.
It was so much fun.
Yeah, that instance is just a lot of fun. I think there's only one mob pack that has you need to blow up 10 of them or something at one time.
Yeah.
I screwed it up because I didn't know how the bomb worked. I didn't realize it was like a double activation. Like you send out the bomb and then you gotta hit the button again. So I screwed that up, unfortunately, but so I got to go back and do it anyway. But I love that instance. I love the mechanics and the minions. And you didn't ever draw your weapons out, did you? I refused. I'm like, I don't care
refused.
how many I use. I am never using my weapons. No.
Yeah. I did. Yeah, I refused to.
It's a lot of fun.
yeah. Like I enjoyed that one. I think the other one was you had to chase down a. It was basically like get on your mountain, chase down. Which one was it?
Devourer.
Yeah, the
Branded
Devourer.
Devourer,
Which-
Devourer, yeah.
Yeah. I think the one that shined, at least for me, and I think it sounds like for the rest of you guys, like basically controlling the minions, but.
I had a little bit of problem because of the way I have my keys set up. So when you're doing the race, you need to like select another target, drain its life to get a speed boost, which was really cool. So I didn't get the achievement for tapping it 5 times. I had it 4 out of 5 times, so I was almost there. But a little bit of adjustment on my part, and I'll easily get that achievement. But yeah, that was just a lot of fun. It was like a race kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I like what Chad is saying, using that tech of the minions in like World v World. Like, what if you did that with like the allies you can capture? Because usually people, like, they're not that big of a deal. Like, they're great and all, they might slow down, but they're usually just ran past. But if you could like be like have these guys and like, you know, command them with a staff or something and say like, you guys are ranged now, like they could actually be useful. That would
Yeah.
be kind of interesting. But
Mhm. Very, very. For the race bit or chasing the Devourer, I was a little confused because I was doing the mechanics properly, but it at some point the Devourer just got away from me. So I'm like, oh, maybe I have to kill the Devourer instead. So I actually killed the Devourer and I broke my instance. So I had to restart it.
You killed it with what? You got off your mount and killed it?
I legit got off my mount and killed it. I chased after it because I was on Thief. I could easily catch up to it, so I just killed it and I broke the instance.
Oh my god.
So I restarted. I'm like, okay, I have to use this Grasp of Darkness, right? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, why didn't it work earlier? So I don't know, but yeah, first try. Like
That's hilarious. I killed it. Oops.
It wasn't working, so I just figured I had to by catching it. It meant I had to kill it 5 times. So I'm like, okay. But yeah,
Wow.
the second time I tried it and it worked, and I was able to do the achievements and all that stuff. So no problem there.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, to explain that to the Morning Crescent. So I caught it, and then I killed it. I am your leader.
That's pretty much it. Oh man.
yeah,
then we got the
it was
big
kind of
one.
cool. Oh, good.
The big final instance.
Yeah, which is
Oh, yeah.
weird because it's like in 2 parts. I didn't realize this till, like I said, I went back to try to get cutscenes.
Yeah,
The
there's
first
2
part is
instances.
the Beast of War. I guess it is because it did feel a little bit long when I was dreading doing this. I was like, oh god, I go through all this like while I was just like I said, I was just trying to get the cutscene, so I wasn't like playing for enjoy. Like I was just like, oh god, I gotta get to basically the end. Because I'll admit the Beast of War was for me pretty tough at times, like with the mobs. But basically, the great part is you're commanding an army, and all of a sudden, Ritlock hands you his sword. You get to wield Sohathan. And boy howdy, now you know why you chased it through the mist. Holy crap.
That sword is broken.
You can just
If the sword does
rip
that
people
kind of
apart.
actual damage, then Ridlock is a terrible companion because we should be killing things in like half a second. Just saying.
I would also like to note that maybe Dale can confirm this, but if you compare Sohathan's skills to Master X Master skills, are they similar?
Ooh, in a little bit, because I know his ultimate I think was basically, what is it, the 4 skill where you kind of start throwing the fire in front of him. That was basically the elite for that. Yeah, because I think the one is a leap. It gets a little bit muddy because I think like in Master X Master he has a leap and then uses a pistol to stun them, which I think they just wanted to stun, but it basically has a leap, so that would be I think the 3 skill, and I think then the other one's just kind of like a basic attack. So yeah, it was pretty solid. Oh my god, I think Master X Master was canon. That he might have went there in the mist afterwards with a supercharged Sohathan.
Oh man.
Oh,
That's
the number
awesome.
1 skill changes depending on class. I'm not sure. I only got to do the instance with
Number
one.
1 or number 2? One of the skills does change depending on your class.
Oh,
I think it might be. I think it might be number 2.
I think it's number 2
auto attack.
because it would constantly put down what is it, symbols for me when I did all my guardian.
Oh no, I did not get that.
So yeah, I
got-
think it's different for profession.
Number 2 for me was I would throw the sword and then shadow step to it. Did you have that one?
Oh,
No. Okay, so that's the difference
that's
one.
okay.
Because
Yeah,
I kept
that's
saying to
pretty
my
cool.
when my wife did, I kept just saying, yeah, just press number 2 and you'll shadow step to it. She's like, it's not working. It's not doing whatever it's supposed to do.
No.
Or is it number 3 that is the
3
no,
I
number
thought
3
was the
for
leap.
me.
Yeah, I
number
thought 3 was the
for me.
leap.
Yeah.
2 I
here's a
just
list.
smashed the
I found
ground
a
and
list
got
of
a.
them. I do like a Death Blossom type of thing, but with Sohathan.
Was that number 2?
Yeah, number 2. All number 2 skills are profession specific.
That's pretty cool. I wasn't even aware of that. I thought it was something that was like triggering from my build or something that I could put down the like the symbols.
Yeah, so it's number 2. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Huh.
that's awesome. But yeah, you basically work your way up to basically what is it, Joko's temple or palace or something? All like
It's
running past Branded,
the
running past.
Kodesh Bazaar.
Oh yeah. But it's pretty intense. It requires all the mounts that you've gotten so far, I would say. Like you need the skimmer to kind of glide along some of the areas, I think, because of the quicksand.
Yeah, skimmer, raptor, rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it tended to be somewhat difficult trying to either kite those things out of the tower area that was keeping them shielded, or trying to get in there and break the thing before they could,
Yeah.
Uh,
I have to go back because as I was doing the story, I was trying to do all the achievements at the same time, just like conveniently, but I didn't get any of them done because there's some that require you to like blitz through everything. Some require you to actually kill vets. Some require you to get through the branded. Okay, I did do the quicksand one though. That one I was freaking
That
out.
instance was the only instance where Beasts of War, that is the only one where I did a time. Like normally, if an achievement was a timed thing, I just skipped it because I'm like, I'll come back later and do this timed. I would just want to play through it and get it. But for whatever reason, in the last instance, I was like, I'm doing it timed, and something I can't remember what the heck. Something would happen where I would, after you get past the skimmer part, there's another, like, you break the force fields,
Yeah.
and then you're supposed to go off with the raptor. But there's a little path to the right, and for whatever reason, I was like, that's where I'm supposed to go, and I jumped right into my death. And I'm like,
that's exactly what happened to me. That's
I'm like, restart the instance because I'm not going to have a death. It ruins my achievement. So I restarted, I think, at least one time. One time or 2 times I restarted, and yeah.
Yeah, I didn't restart. I'm like, I'll do this later. I'll do the achievement later. I want to
and
finish.
yeah, if you are in the instance, definitely look up. Like Chad is saying, they didn't realize Kralkatork was out there in the fight type thing, and
For Beast of War,
yeah.
is he's in the Beast of War instance as
think
well?
he's in
I
the
could hear
sky.
him, but I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But
I didn't even. I didn't notice. I did notice him in the final fight to kill a god.
yeah.
So when you get to the very top, you have to fight Balthazar's war machine, his war beast.
Which I know a lot of people didn't notice it, but in the War Machine, and this is why Balthazar wanted a like either
Dragon.
Vlast or Aurene. He now uses Aurene in that War Machine thing to basically fight Kralkatork. So basically, you have to fight the machine to helpfully free Aurene, and then you fight Balthazar.
You could
I
say
did,
it was rage against the machine.
I did know Aurene was in the machine because there's some dialogue between you and Balthazar about it. But I tried to look in the machine a couple of times, and I just couldn't really see her. There was like a little bluish dot at the back, but I couldn't get a clear shot of her inside the machine, unfortunately. I did try. But there's too much going on, and I'm trying not to die and get a look inside, and yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically after you free Aurene from the machine, you then have to fight Balthazar, which you and Aurene team up. You every once in a while have like a move where I think he shields himself. Aurene takes one side, you take the other, and do an attack together. And I think it's similar to one time in season 3. I think you do the same thing. Is it when the destroyers are trying to attack? Or no, that would be before Aurene's there. I swear you have to use Aurene for something like that before in season 3, but I just don't remember.
I think you're right. I don't remember the instance though.
For what, her attack?
Yeah, where you kind of have that moment where it's
yeah.
like step in the circle and then use your special action key and.
Yeah. Yep. Which, by the way, didn't work all of the time.
Yeah.
it really bugged out on my wife. It only happened to me twice, but for her, at least 5 or 6 times, the action key wouldn't come up, and then he eventually would just kill you,
Yeah,
which
that happened to
sucked.
me.
But at the end, there is a cutscene that shows little Balthazar getting exploded, and it's not
Really
pretty.
cool cutscene.
Yeah, it was definitely
I-
awesome.
I think they legit took the scene from the end of Wonder Woman.
I haven't seen it, so I have no idea. But yeah, and he goes to reach for his arm, and he unravels. It's just really, really cool.
The most interesting thing is like all the magic you see is like expending from himself, and he's going up into the air, causing all this weather effects and stuff. Then all of a sudden it calms down.
What's really crazy is like that seemed like a more dramatic death than even Mordramoth. When he exploded, it exploded and it shut up. It let out a big shockwave. But I don't know. This one felt more crazy to me. You know?
Yeah, and kind of going. This is like where I can say, like earlier we were talking about, like the you know, they kind of hint at it with they're using Aurene and Vlast to fight Krakatork because they're weak to their own magic, weirdly enough. I think this is also the case of, this is what Jim was saying of, maybe this is why he needed that sword to go there. He enchanted it with his fire that could break those chains. What if the chains were from his realm, which would have been weak to him, that were keeping him there, but his magic could destroy it, which was imbued into the sword.
Yeah,
then ultimately the sword could kill Balthazar, which is why Ritlock gave it to us.
I have a little bit of an issue with the lore sort of behind it, but one of the devs on the AMA yesterday had said like the sword is from Balthazar himself, so that's sort of, I guess, confirmation from them as to why. But my problem is like he sees you with the sword. It's not like you're hiding it. Like you can't see it, Balthazar. Like, haha, I got a surprise for you.
Say hello to my little friend.
He doesn't seem to care. Like I had speculated in my video series, like, you know, the Elder Dragons have a weakness, and so Krakatork is killed by other crystal dragons. So it kind of made some sense to me that Balthazar is killed by his own fire magic if you use it against him. You know, breaking his chains with it, or the chains with it, or whatever. So yeah, okay, I kind of get that. And the devs sort of go further on to speak, like, it's having the magic sword, but also having Aurene there, and you as a team sort of beat him. But then I feel like it puts a little too much power in young Aurene's grasp. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because the first 2 times you fight him, he just smacks you down, right? He's just like, you're dead. And even when Aurene comes in, although she does come in late, so there is something to be said about you two fighting together at the same time. Although Aurene was trapped in the War Beast, he could have just splat at you and smacked you down right there. But it's a game, and so you have to just, I guess, you know, leave it open to, you just have to leave room for allowances for that kind of stuff, I suppose.
Yeah. And like Chat's saying, it was the power of friendship. That's, you know, we learned it from Captain Planet. There's all these elements, but we had heart, too. That's the most important element. It was the love we had for Aurene that just put it over the edge that we could defeat Balthazar. No?
Yeah, I don't know.
But, yeah, so, you know, we saved the day, and as you can, like, when you kind of stand up, all of a sudden you just see, I think Aurene starts flying around. And, yeah, you can't do anything, and she kind of just, like, flies away. I don't know if she headed towards Krakatork, because there's basically a big Krakatork head in the sky.
She does. She sort of flies off around and under. I thought she was going to attack him.
That's what I thought originally.
Yeah, she sort of flies off and around him, sort of, yeah. Well, I've seen Krakatork's face, and I'm like, I love it. I don't know. I really like the design on him. He's got his mouth open, like consuming the magic when when Balthazar here dies, and his mouth is just riddled with these crystal teeth and everything. It's really cool looking.
Maybe that's what
Really
she does.
cool.
She like flies away to absorb the magic, and because shortly after that explosion, Kralkatork even flies off like, well, screw this.
Yeah, she was like Aurene definitely absorbed, and we'll talk about this in a second. But
Yeah.
Aurene definitely absorbs a good deal of magic here. A good, like, obviously Kralkatork absorbs even more, but she does absorb a good deal. You see the magic like hitting her, and she's flopping around like a fish out of water. But you know, once it hits her and she stabilizes, she sort of flies off. Probably because the transformation is about to happen. Which happens in the epilogue, but
yeah, which I mean, speaking of which, you go to the small victory, and basically you kind of once again have a story choice of you can do a speech with the people of Amnun, and you can either be lighthearted, like basically positive, neutral, or negative. And
Yeah.
and you get multiple options. I've heard some people say like, "Oh, try this combination." It's kind of funny, like, hey, we're doing good, but you're all doomed. Like, I don't like things like that. So there's some pretty awesome combinations you can kind of make out of them.
I went with happy, vague, and then somber, and it cracked me up because when you end with somber, I don't know about starting with somber and stuff. I need to go back and do all those, but when you end with somber, you end on a really like dour note, and everybody's like, well, I don't feel like partying anymore. they're all sad and depressed, and we're like, the Einman or whatever her name is like, she's like, well, nobody wants to dance anymore or eat any of the food, or everybody's so depressed. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I did happy, somber, vague.
Yeah.
And because like I wanted to RP it as best as possible, so I'm like, that's what I would do in this situation. And everyone was like just utterly confused. It's like, well, are we sick? Are we what? Wait, what? What's happening? I thought, but it was just, it was like, yes, I'm gonna leave in all this confusion so that I don't get like
So
killed.
good.
It was actually very funny.
But yeah, after you
choose?
Oh, I kind of just went neutral straight out, just to
Vague,
please
vague, vague.
Canuck. Yeah. But
So
I can't wait to
did
go
you
back and play
guys,
around with it.
Out of your party, Ritlock, Canuck, or Casimir, who did you talk to first?
Casimir. Just because she was there first.
I was gonna say I
You remember
might have
who you
did
talked to,
Ritlock because I
Dale?
think that was the first one I saw.
I did Ritlock first, and it's funny when you're talking to him, he asks you two different times, like, oh, well, what did Canuck say? And you're like, oh, well, I came to you first. Were you jealous? And he's like, just checking. And then he asks later, like, what did Casimir say? And you're like, he's like, did you talk to Casimir yet? And you're like, I'm not going to answer that.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
pretty funny. That like,
My interaction actually, now that I mentioned it, because it was, I was talking to him in such a way, it's like, oh, you talked to Casimir, eh? It's like, well, yeah. It's like, what did Canuck say? It's like, I'm not going to answer that. So that was,
That's cool.
that's interesting how that went.
Yeah.
but yeah, basically after you deliver the speech, you kind of go out and, actually the whole gang's there. Like almost the whole gang is there. Timey, Casimir,
Marjorie.
Canuck. Yeah, Marjorie shows up halfway through, like, and there's a nice, lovely moment there. The only one that's not there is Brim and Rox, of course, but they kind of say, oh, should we try this whole Dragon's Watch thing again? And
And you get the nice fireworks.
yeah, you get nice fireworks, and then all of a sudden rumbling, and then we get this cutscene. What looks like Kralkatork flying over the crystal desert and leaving a path of corruption. So,
Do you know the song Navris from The Matrix? That would have fit perfectly for this.
I thought he was flying over Amnun here, but people are saying that that's not where he's flying. I'll have to go in game and see if you can sort of identify some of the structures.
I was gonna say that's a weird thing because I think the instance, unless it just didn't match up during the thing, I thought the instance was at night. So if it's Kralkator is going into the sunset, so it should be to the. Trying to make sure I get this right. It should be going towards the sunrises. Yeah, should be going towards the east. West?
Oh,
Okay.
I
No,
thought it
wait.
was,
You're
I
west.
don't know.
It's right. I always second guess myself. That's one of those things where I'm like, am I mixing it? Am I finally remembering that mixed up, or am I now thinking of it right? So, yeah, you're right. I think, which is a weird direction. So, I don't know if it was just the time wasn't right on the cutscene.
Yeah. It looks like he's flying over the southern part of Crystal Oasis, if I'm not mistaken, because it looked like that orb thing is. Maybe I'm wrong.
My question is, like, ArenaNet's not really known to do this that often. Are they going to change the map in season 4 to reflect his? If this is part of the Crystal Oasis in Amnoon, which it might be, it might not be, I don't know. Are they going to crystallize part of the city and stuff?
That'd be interesting, but I think they
like
just
that.
steered away from that part. Like, so I doubt they would, but.
And at some point he flies over a city. I don't know which city it is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a city in living. Maybe it's a story. Maybe it's a city in Living Story season 4 that he flies over, and then we'll get that. Yeah, I was thinking it could have been Bobby too. I'm not sure.
But afterwards, it goes like fades to black for a bit, and then all of a sudden you kind of see what I'm assuming is a slightly more powerful Irene. I mean,
she changes. Her face is different.
Yeah, she looks a little bit more grown up.
Hard to tell if she's larger or not, but she looks a little bit larger. Looks a little bit more like Vlast in a way, in a bit, and less like Mordremoth, which is kind of interesting. She's changed. That influence is still there, but it's definitely changed some. And oh god, she's uglier. Well, I think that's the point. Everybody loves. People don't necessarily love Quaggan. They love baby Quaggan. They love baby Irene, right? So now somebody's gonna say, "No, I love regular fat Quaggan." But yeah, people love baby Irene, and now she's her face is different. She's grown up a little bit. It looks like the magic.
She's going through puberty.
Some.
It's like ugh.
Teenage phase.
Yeah, she's getting like pimples and stuff. Because I won't lie. Like I was like, oh, what happened to the cute like puppy dog eye Irene? Like, oh.
She's not. No, she can't stay a baby forever. It's
yes,
time to grow up.
She'll always be a baby on my heart.
Her eyes make her look like she has no idea what's going on. She's off.
That's my baby.
Where she is.
Anyway, I think she might be, and so there's some speculation over that too. But do you think she went to Glint's lair? And she went back to the lair, and
that'd be cool.
She's sort of hiding in there.
Hmm.
It would be a semi-protected area, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
So,
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'll be interested to see how large she really is.
Large enough to have her as a mount skin.
And is she going to get a voice, or is it all going to be still in our mind? Do you think she's going to get voiced?
I hope
Season
so.
4+?
I hope so. Eventually.
Yeah, eventually. I don't know the inner workings of teenage dragons. Maybe they don't get their voice till adulthood.
Oh man.
But I mean, that's basically the story. I mean, overall, how did you guys enjoy the story? And
I liked it. I think it was, like Aaron said last week, I think it was the best story Arena's put out for Guild Wars 2.
For Guild Wars 2, easily. It's so hard because it's been a long time since I played Nightfall, but easily the best story that I played in Guild Wars 2 for me. Even with some of my nitpicky quibbles that we've talked about for hours on the show now, and some of my confusion perhaps with the gods and whatnot, which I think really just sort of enhances it a little bit. It's nice to sort of ask those questions, so to speak. But I love the story. I had a lot of fun with it. I thought the encounters, regardless of difficulty, were fun and engaging, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I do want to say I enjoyed the story. I think I hinted at last week. I feel it falls on the same issue I had with season 3 of, and I've seen a lot of people afterwards going, "Oh man, I hope they do Cantha next. I hope they do this." I'm like, I don't want them to touch old lore anymore, because they quickly introduce it and then get rid of it. Like
They change it. Yeah.
well, they just get rid of it. Like, hey, look, Vlast. Okay, he's gone. Hey, the gods are back, only to leave. It's like,
Okay.
like
I see.
I feel like they just want to do their own story, and they're like, okay, see, this is what the people wanted. Okay, now it's gone. Can we do our thing now, please? Like, that's my only thing I've seen from this. I'm just like, oh, that I still think it's a great story. I loved it, but it's just I see that and I'm like, I don't want them to go further into like the ruining. Like it hurts.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want the lore to break. I would like them to build on what they have more so. Even if it goes in a different direction, just make it make sense. That's what I would like. For example, like what they did in Raid, telling about Saul's, like that made sense, right? And didn't really break the lore, as it were. So hopefully they can do that rather than just take away the lore altogether.
I mean, you know, it's like what I said about season 3, where they're like, you know, everybody's like, well, where's the real Lazarus and all that stuff? And they're like, hey, here's Lazarus and Livia again. And then Olivia's like, well, that's done. You're never going to see me again because I'm going on vacation. Like, it's like, what? But you just, like,
I really
you
hope
help?
she does. I do hope she comes back and has a role in next season.
I hope so, but the wording they just put there, it sounded like we're gonna put her behind the glass and only break in case of emergency. Like,
yeah, but we're technically in with the Shining Blade now, so we can like get help from them. So hopefully Livia has a part in that.
yeah, but that was the only thing I could, you know, I saw that I was like, no, this kind of sucks, because like Inks was saying, and like I think what Chat was saying is like, I would have loved to have seen like pursuing the gods more or something, but they're just like, no, we're all just leaving. They sent another car for me. I just was here to let you know that we're leaving. So, you know, see ya. Like, yeah. But okay. Have fun with my library. Do what you want. I'll be, you know, I'm gone. I don't care anymore.
Oh, that's a good question about the Shining Blade. Does the oath still work now that we've died? That's legitimately a good question.
I would love to see that as an out for like the story. Like, hey, you can't talk about us. I already died. What? Like,
wow, I gotta go back and read that oath because that.
But yeah, let's wrap up because I think we're gonna have a very short after show because we've basically used up a lot of that time. But
4 hours.
Yeah. Age, where can they find you? I never.
You can find me on Twitch and YouTube at Age Night Road. You could also find Malthanis at Malthanis MMO. He does set 0 to Hero. I'm gonna do it for him since he's not here. So you can find him.
We'll even put up his tag. Look, there's the tag for him.
You can find him playing 0 to Hero on this channel, twitch.tv/talkingskrit. On Wednesday, it's at 7:30 Eastern time, I believe. Or 7:30 Eastern?
Around 7, I think, Eastern time on Wednesdays, yeah.
Yeah. I stream on my channel at twitch.tv/AgeNightRoad. I'll be playing Guild Wars 2 per usual, but I'll also be playing a new game that came out called A Hat in Time. That game I kickstarted like 6-7 years ago. So
awesome.
You're damn right. I'm going to be streaming that.
Success.
And
awesome.
I'll be playing the new Overwatch Halloween stuff as well. So feel free to swing by.
Cool. And Inks, where can they find you?
Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube at MMO Inks. We finally finished the story today, so that whole playthrough, first reaction, or initial, playthrough and whatever is finally up on the channel. That is mostly complete. There's going to be a couple of bonus episodes. I want to go back and do at a later time. And regular content for the channel now, Ranger Pet Guides and stuff like that, will start rolling out now. Streaming will resume on Tuesday. I haven't streamed in almost 2 weeks because I wanted to make sure that I finished the story and some other things were going on. I do apologize to my Twitch subs and stuff, but we'll be back streaming on Tuesday. Videos will resume on Tuesday or Wednesday. Monday is Canadian Thanksgiving, so I'll be out and about for that holiday. I won't really be at home so much, but should be a good time, and I'll see you guys this week coming up.
Awesome. And you can find me at simply_deo on Twitch and Twitter, and I had my kind of playthrough on live on Twitter, and then I just made the highlight and collection of them. So using a brainwave device, so you can see my brain jumping at all the things, or me crying over Aurene. I didn't cry, but maybe mentally I did. Who knows? But if you are just popping at the very end, we're probably gonna do a short after show this week. I'm not gonna lie, like maybe all of like 10 minutes, just because, well, this is a 4-hour podcast right now. But if you want to check us out, the whole thing out, we do highlight this on Twitch. But if you enjoy YouTube more, it goes up on YouTube on Sundays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Feel free to comment there, and I'm gonna try to stress to people, especially for a video like this, make sure we got the we usually use timestamps. Definitely use those so you can jump around to maybe the parts that you want to listen to first. But if you're watching on YouTube, hop over, try to catch us live. We do pre-show and after-show stuff. That goes up Saturdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. And let me thank the host this week. Holy moly. I think it's just an endurance thing of how many people we got this week. So thank you, Mighty Teapot, Jaibu Cool, Crescent QT, Redish, Inky Sticks. I'm always going to butcher your name.
I will help you.
Aset Gebnut, that Chevron, Serene Virus, and Sundorai. And I believe that's all that's it's showing me for this one. If it's even longer, I apologize. But thank you to everybody who hosted. Thank you everybody for coming out and sticking around so long. And as always, we will see you in the game. Good night, everybody.